we don't really know where the world is gonna go. But now everybody knows that you can't stop for too long, got to keep. But now everybody knows, got to keep.
You don't have to be retired to receive tax-free income. The problem is the vehicles that we've been conditioned to believe to help get us there were never designed to produce income.
Got to keep going. What you want to be, going, you will see.
Oh, yes.
It's your destiny, be in harmony. We were never meant to be apart. What you want to be, going, you will see. You can have everything you want. It's your destiny, be in harmony. Ooh.
If you had a machine in your garage and all you had to do was put a quarter in it and it printed out $100. Put a quarter in it, printed out $100. Would you ever stop that machine from running?
But now everybody knows.
So what if you use that job that you hate as leverage to fill your machine so they can create income for you, so you don't have to worry about income?
You know where the world is gonna go. But now everybody knows that you can't stop for too long. Got to keep going.
Good evening. Get in here. Everybody's jumping in the chat. We love to see it. We also have some wins, people celebrating right here in the chat. So congratulations, Sequoia, for passing her exam. And she is moving forward with helping others to achieve their own journey. So that's
what's up.
yeah, that we love to hear that. There have been people that are right here in our community who have started from not knowing any of this stuff to showing up every single week. And now you've seen the proof in their lives that this is working for them, that the strategies that we cover, that we've used personally for ourselves, are working for other people. And we love to be able to see that and show others proof that it works too. Tonight, we're talking about how we used our home essentially to turn into a bank. We turned our home equity and our home essentially into our own personal bank. So we became our own bank. And we're going to go through how you can do that too. This is for you if you're tired of a whole bunch of advice that's tied to products or some sort of course that people are teaching. This is for you if you think that home equity is, or leveraging your home equity is a scam and you're not really sure how to do it or how to do it the right way in order to build wealth or start growing your money so that you can be cash flowing with that leverage, essentially. This is for you if you're looking for, how do I accelerate my wealth building journey so that I can achieve results that others probably would never in the next 2 decades. This is for you. So if you're on your wealth building journey, if you're looking to tap into leverage, if you think that maybe you don't have enough equity to be able to, or how can somebody increase their equity, you're in the right place. We're going over exactly how we did this without having a bunch of equity. We did this in the first 6 months of our mortgage when we bought this house. And that's how we know that you can do it too. So you ready to get started?
Yeah, and you know where the stems from is a lot of the questions that I get around how we have our first position HELOC set up, where we got it from, and it's rooted in, but what if I don't have enough equity, or what if I was told that lines of credit aren't the most efficient way of being able to do things? How is it possible you guys are able to use your home as a bank? Doesn't make sense. And then when I talk about interest rates, then heads explodes, because there's no way I would have given up a 3.25% interest rate to kind of jump into this market. So we'll go into all of that stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of advice out there, and we always say that there's many ways to 10. So if you've heard something and you have subscribed to those types of ideas, you might want to just stick around so that you can maybe learn something new. I mean, what's it going to hurt, right? This is YouTube. This is all free. So just what we hope is that we're able to arm somebody else with like a map, right? This is a playbook on how to maximize your leverage. I don't want to ruin it. Okay, there's so many things that I love that when you talk to other people about this that you say, and I don't want to ruin it. This is one of my favorite conversations that we have with people. And when they get this, their minds are completely blown. What we've been able to achieve in just a handful, less than a handful of years, is almost unbelievable. I would not have believed it myself if anybody would have told me this is where we would have been in just a half of a decade. No possible way I would have believed it, because I did not understand strategies like this. I didn't even know that they existed, but now we're proof that they do. So you ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's get into it. Here we go.
So a couple things. We're going to walk through, I'll call it the first 6 months of how we were actually able to accomplish this. But before we do all of that, we kind of have to just make sure we're on the same level playing field, right? So the objective or the goal for today is to walk through how we turned our home into a bank. And it's something that we still use to this day. We leverage our home equity line of credit to do whatever it is we want to do, whether it's pay bills, go on trips, become hard money lenders. You name it, we're able to do it. And some of the common, I'll call it myths or conversations that I have with people related to home equity lines of credit are kind of function around this. And that is, HELOCs are too expensive, or you have to have a lot of equity before you can actually either receive or use the equity in your home. Debt is debt, meaning it's all bad. You don't want any debt. You can't accelerate or increase your home equity quickly. Meaning there's some misconceptions out there around once you have a line of credit, and depending on how you use that line of credit, you can't accelerate or increase the value in your home to have access to even more over time. Letting equity sit is a safety net. And these are my mortgage people. The thought process is this: I've got this home, I've been in this home 20 plus years, I've got hundreds of thousands of equity in it, I'm good. And usually my comment to that is, meet me at Home Depot. You bring your equity, I'll bring mine. And let's see who can actually take action. Can you actually use your equity in your home, or is it just sitting there? Some people call that dead equity. But I get a lot of comments around, hey, I'm fine. I've got equity, it's sitting there, it's available to me, and if I need it, I'll use it. What does that mean though? Does that mean you're going to sell the home? So you're going to become homeless to be able to access your equity? Or is there a way to leverage your equity while you're still living in the home? Only use a HELOC rather if you have to. And I would actually say this is true. You shouldn't be using something that you don't understand. So you should only be leveraging or using this home equity line of credit if there's, I'll call it the stars and the moon align. Paying a higher interest rate for HELOC is stupid. And on the surface, paying a higher interest rate is pretty silly. But we've done this many times on this channel. Mathematically, it may be more efficient for you to actually leverage that line of credit to, again, execute those things that you want to do. Again, it all depends on the goal, but a higher interest rate doesn't necessarily impact your ability to do that. So there are cases where a higher interest rate is actually okay, and you can still accomplish your goal. And then paying off your home first is more valuable, and that is, hey, I can't have dessert until I eat my dinner. And again, the idea behind these is, I'm going to say all in all, it depends. Some of these are fairly accurate depending on the vehicle that you have. Not all HELOCs are the same. Not all custodians, not all banks are the same. So who you get it from, how it's structured, how you're going to use it, the reason you have it, all of that matters. And so to me, I wouldn't necessarily call these myths. I say in some cases they're true, but it really just truly depends. It depends on the situation. It depends on you. It depends on where you are. It depends on the vehicle that you're looking to be able to leverage. And we've used this before as well. So where was most of the money made during the last financial crisis? Because there's this looming air of, hey, we're headed in that direction again. So where was the most money made during our last financial crisis? It was here. Specifically here. And I'd say in this area as well. But the bottom line is non-traditional investments, real estate, your ability to be able to use your money to do whatever you want. But what does this ultimately mean? What this is saying is, in most cases, money was made during this last financial crisis by people who could access their leverage. So again, I think the name of this channel should be kind of geared around, do you understand, or where is your leverage available, and do you understand how to access it? Meaning, where is your leverage located, and are you putting it to work? And most people don't realize the home that they're living in most cases, is the largest place where leverage exists. Who's leveraging your home today? Is it you, or is it the bank that holds your mortgage? Is there an opportunity for you to put your home in a better position so that it can be leveraged to do whatever it is you're wanting to do?
Okay, well, I was
Go ahead.
wanting to make a note about that. The reason this is important to note is because a lot of people are making safe decisions right now. They're trying to put themselves in a place where they feel secure and they feel stable, right? Especially without knowing what's going to be happening in the market. It's even more important now that you learn strategies like this, not just because they're non-traditional, but because it puts the power in your hands. You have control when you have the keys, right? And if you're not in a position to hold the keys and pivot when you need to, or when you see an opportunity, then you have to ask for permission, or be at the mercy of a bank or a lender who gets to decide if something is good for you or not, right?
Right.
When I'm talking about opportunities, the biggest opportunity that happens in a financial crisis is real estate. The reason why most people miss out on them is because they don't have access to make moves during that time. Think about it. If you could go back to the 2008 crash, right, for instance, and you saw the prices of some of those homes, and maybe you knew people who were taking advantage of it or not. Maybe you didn't, but you knew that people were taking advantage of it. And how many conversations did this come up in when somebody would say, gosh, if only I had,
Right.
if only I could access, if I could do that, I would absolutely take advantage of these opportunities if I blank, right? We're going to show you exactly how to do that tonight.
Good. And to that point, here's why we're glad we didn't listen to all of the naysayers. Because again, we were called I specifically remember several conversations I had with people in my family who thought I was crazy to get rid of my mortgage in place of a line of credit. So what does it look like? Well, we were able to pay off our home, and me and my wife go back and forth about this all the time. Is my home actually paid off? But we were able to pay off our home
All the
in
time.
less than 5 years. Meaning the original line of credit that we had on our home in place of our mortgage no longer exists. Any balance we currently have today is for other things, whether it was cars that needed to be financed, or a roof that needed to be repaired, or whatever that investment might have been. The balance on our home is not what was actually originally due to the bank. So she's right about that. But our objective is to continue to leverage this vehicle over and over and over again. Did you want to add something there?
Yes. Also, just noting that you just admitted that I was right. So I love that for me. But it's because the balance of the house was paid off and we continue to use it. To me, it's no different than a big credit card, right? At this point, we've turned our house into a giant credit card, giant bank, whatever it is. And the house is that balance has been paid off. Now what we're able to do is we're able to leverage it for whatever we want. And we have the balance, we have the room of the house, right? So for those of you who are making extra payments, who are, maybe even trying to find creative financing solutions for other things that you need, like he mentioned, a roof or the cars or whatever else it is, right? It could even be the debt elimination. Some people use these things for one particular thing. They upgrade or rehab their home or whatever it is, and they think of a HELOC in this way. Maybe you're doing debt consolidation, and so you think of it as only a tool that you can use for this purpose. And gosh, you wouldn't want to use it for anything else. We have more than paid off our home. We have used this for all you see here all you see here, and the amount of interest that someone else is paying on their home could have been the same house, our neighbors, for instance, right? The amount of interest they are paying for 2 houses, essentially, but they only get to live in one. Would you do that? Would you buy 2, get 1? Would you buy 2, get 1 with the house? Would you? Neither. You wouldn't. So this is why this is really the hack. And a lot of people wouldn't see it as this because they're stuck on what we call the surface math. But we're going to show you why that doesn't make sense.
And I think the biggest piece for me in this list is this part. The ability to do what we wanted to do when we want to do it. We do not have to walk into a bank and request or ask or gain permission from some custodian or some bank to allow us to do what we want to do. So it gave us access to liquidity to be able to take action. So, the slide before this, how did most people make money during the last financial crisis? So if there's one looming, wouldn't this be the right time for you to get in a position so that you can be flexible, liquid, so that when those opportunities present themselves, you can take action versus, again, having to go to a bank and requesting permission to be able to use your money. And so I want to make sure, again, this is just making sure we're all on the same page here. I am talking about a home equity line of credit, not a home equity loan. They are different, very different. And so when I'm talking about a home equity line of credit, I'm talking a vehicle that will allow you to put money in. And as that money goes in, you have full access to be able to pull money out at the same time. So, and it's not a vehicle where it's one directional, meaning it's open ended. It allows you to get money in and out of it versus a loan is just that. Once you have it, once you've used it for whatever the purpose was, rehab the kitchen, fix the bathroom, whatever the case may be, now it's just I'll call it a standard monthly payment that you're paying to repay the loan that you have. And in addition, qualifying for this loan, it was, hey, I've got a mortgage on my home and I've got equity. So I'm going to now borrow that room that I have, that equity that I have from the bank at some interest rate. And then once I've used it, once I've leveraged that dollar amount, I can't use it again. I cannot get multiple uses out of the same dollar. Whereas over here, the process might have even been the same. But now this vehicle that I have the certain period of time, some draw period where I can put money in, get money out of it as much as I want. So we are talking about a home equity line of credit, not a home equity loan. And this hits home a little bit more than you might actually know. But HELOCs, again, in some cases, can be horrible products. It all depends on where you get it from, how you're going to use it, what is your current financial situation. So in most cases, you are dealing with a vehicle where the interest rate is higher than your original mortgage. That is very possible. In addition, to be able to get a home equity line of credit, depending on where you're getting it from, they may require you to jump through hoops that may seem unnecessary, and the potential to increase debt or increase the debt burden. This is another one of those pieces where if you are not in the right position to be able to handle a product like this, don't do it, because it can get ugly really, really fast. And again, not all HELOCs, not all processes to get a HELOC are the same. So where you get it from matters. And what's interesting about this is the home equity line of credit that we have came from Bank of America. Why Bank of America? Because we've been banking with Bank of America since I was a small one, since I was, I think, graduating high school. So I've been with them for a very, very long time. The only reason we chose Bank of America is because it was, I have a relationship with them and it was efficient for me. But the product that Bank of America offers is not a good one. And I'm going to walk you through some of that. We're going to walk through what the first 6 months inside of our HELOC actually look like. And in the process, understanding what those 6 months look like inside of that HELOC should give you an idea as to how we were able to make progress. And even though the product we have is not efficient, even though the product we have, I'm going to walk you through the steps that I had to take to be able to get money in and take money out. Even though that's not efficient, even though it is not the best product possible, we still were able to pay off our home in under 4 years or whatever that time frame would be. And it's still a vehicle that we can leverage and use as much as we would like. So my point is this: Even though the vehicle itself might not be as ideal as the one you might get from the bank across the street, don't allow that to stop you from actually understanding the power of how this product can work for you. Go ahead, sweetheart.
Yeah, well, before you move forward, just HELOCs in general, the design around them, the risks involved, all of those things, we're not negating that those things aren't true. So
Right.
that's the point of bringing this stuff up in the beginning, because we get it. There's a reason why people have been avoiding some of these products. It's not that the products are bad, it's that you can still use them for good. That's really what we're trying to say here is, yes, these products are going to be these products. The rules are going to change, and these are going to be horrible things for the majority of people because they don't understand how to truly leverage them. Right. When you understand this and you have this playbook, when you get this, you will suddenly see that this is leverage in a different way that you have access to, that the majority of people have access to. And when you realize that you've been sitting on this for a long time with these misconceptions, you have to understand who benefits from designing something that makes it mathematically confusing for you. But you think you're safer in your mortgage. You think you're safer not choosing this because of the risk, right? You think you have been programmed to believe that you're safer, you're more stable or secure. When you see the difference here, you're going to realize why, even though this is true, it's still worth it.
And I think you said it very, very well. And that is, who benefits?
Yeah.
Who benefits from this seeming like a insurmountable task? Who benefits from you not having all of the necessary knowledge around this product to be able to execute it? Like, who is benefiting?
Well, if you're buying two and getting one house, right? And
Exactly.
you're essentially buying the bank a house and then you get to keep one, then why would they want you to do any kind of strategy like this? Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So in addition, not only are we not talking about a HE loan, when we're talking about a home equity line of credit, there are a few different types, and I'll zoom in on this. There's a few different types. There's a first position and a second position. So today we are specifically talking about a first position home equity line of credit. But everything I walk you through today, you can absolutely accomplish with the second position. It does not impact your ability to execute what it is I'm about to show you. It's just different. And how are they different? Well, there's several things that make a first position HELOC different from a secondary, and we'll just walk through them. Change colors here. So position. A first position HELOC replaces your mortgage. In the condition of a first position home equity line of credit, there is no mortgage anymore. The first position home equity line of credit replaces it. And in first position from this point forward is that line of credit. Whereas a second position home equity line of credit is taking advantage of the difference between what the home is worth and where the mortgage is sitting. That space between what the home is worth and the balance on the mortgage, that difference is what is being accessed when as it relates to a second position home equity line of credit. Interest rates can be different, meaning typically for a first position home equity line of credit, the interest rate is lower. Why? Well, in most cases, from the bank's perspective, because the first position HELOC is in first position, there's more incentive for the bank to make sure you stay up with it. Whereas the second position HELOC is in addition to, and there's more risk there. So it tends to have a higher interest rate. Loan to value ratio. In most cases, for a first position home equity line of credit, it's 80 to 90%. I have seen first position home equity lines of credit for 100%. I have seen it. There are custodians, there are banks out there that will do it. And then second positions are usually capped based off your home's value, and based off what your home is worth. Use of the funds, I would say these are basically the same. What you can use the funds for, in most cases, are the same, whether it's a first position or a second position home equity line of credit. But what you have to be careful with here is how the bank views second position home equity lines of credit. We didn't have it in the list of myths because I don't think this is a myth, but there are situations where a bank will call a second position home equity line of credit due. Notice, I did not say a bank will call a first position home equity line of credit due, but there has been instances where banks have called second position home equity lines of credit due. How is that? Why is that? A lot of times it has to do with how it's being used as well as the balance sheet for the bank. But because this is in second position, what's most important from the bank's perspective? What's most important as it relates to lines of credit is what is in first position. If the mortgage is in first position, the bank fully is concerned with making sure they receive their dollar. And so, therefore, there are times where what's in second position can be viewed differently. And then tax deductibility, again, I would say this is consistently the same between both vehicles. And then flexibility. Again, there's a few more words here, but the bottom line is, in most cases, the flexibility, what you can use the lines of credit for, are pretty similar. Even draw periods in most cases are pretty similar as well. So again, what we're talking about today is a first position home equity line of credit, not second. We've done many videos where I've compared the two. We've done many videos where we've done the exact same actions using both, but today is specifically in reference to a first position home equity line of credit. And one of my favorite, why would I pay more? Why would I pay 2% more for a home equity line of credit versus my mortgage? It does not mathematically make sense. I'm paying more interest for my home. Why would I do that? And I say this is one of my favorite questions, mainly because on the surface, you're correct. When you're simply looking at it from an apples to apples perspective, a 3.5% mortgage is better than a 7% home equity line of credit in first position. That is true. But usage, your flexibility, is it open-ended? Your ability to be able to access or reuse the same dollar in the vehicle, totally different. Go ahead, sweetheart.
Better. It's
On the surface. On the surface,
okay.
if you just simply do the math, a 3%, 3.5% mortgage rate compared to a 7% home equity line of credit, mathematically, yes. But that's on the surface. You have to really go a little bit deeper.
You got to do the long math. You got to do the long math. You have to go deeper. Because you're still buy two, get one.
Right.
Make it make sense. Yeah. Okay.
No, you're spot on.
All right.
So this specifically is our setup. What we're talking about is we had a mortgage sitting at about $360,000, mortgage payment about $2,083 with an interest rate of about 3.24%, and we were headed down that path of 30 years. If I was to, and we will look at the amortization schedule, but if you would dig into the amortization schedule, that 30-year period would have meant we would have spent, and I think this number is actually low, it's somewhere around $730,000 is what we would have spent for this home if we would have allowed this dollar amount to fully go the full 30 years. We immediately jumped out of this mortgage into a first position home equity line of credit, meaning I replaced this with this. But notice, these two numbers are not the same. We had a mortgage of $359, almost $360, and we ended up picking up a first position home equity line of credit for $357.5. Now, notice this piece. The reason this works is because this is no different than any debt tool you would use through Velocity Banking, and I'll get into what I mean by that. But my point is, you have to have cash flow for this process to make sense. And also notice, when we started this process, we went from a 3.24% mortgage interest rate to a 1.74% first position home equity line of credit interest rate. This is an amortized vehicle. This is simple interest. Now, this may not be a fair comparison, you may be saying, because who is offering a 1.74% interest rate on a line of credit? So I will do both. I'm going to walk you through what actually happened during the first 6 months of our process, and I'm going to turn around and show you what this process would look like if we had a 7% interest rate. So we're going to do both. So stick around. But my point is, I understand. Who wouldn't take advantage of an opportunity where they could cut their mortgage rate in half? So go ahead.
Wait, but I don't know that we added this part, so I want to make sure that it's in here because I know we've done this so many times that it's hard to remember what we've included or forgot. Yes, so the question is on the sales price and the leverage that we have down here is
Here?
what's the equity that we had in the home to be
Oh, I'll
able to
get there.
leverage? Oh,
Okay.
okay. Yeah. So how did we transition over? We had equity. A part of it was that we walked into the house based on how we purchased this home, which is a totally different story, but it did aid us in walking into a little bit of leverage. It wasn't enough, but it was a little bit of leverage.
And I don't think that's fair. It was not a little bit of leverage. It was a lot.
It was enough. But here's my point. My point was, we don't do anything traditional. When somebody tells me that I can't do something, I want to go find a way to do it. So when they said that we could not find or qualify for the type of house and the kind of house and the location that we wanted to live in, I went and found one. So I had like my own inventory of houses around here that people wanted to sell their homes to us, just simply because we were willing to make sure that they were walking away with whatever they thought they were going to, if they listed it on the market with an agent. And because these agents weren't willing to, and these people didn't want to list it with an agent, they didn't want to go through all of that, we were able to go through buying scenarios with eight, 9 people. I don't know. It was so many.
It was a pretty decent inventory.
I had my own little inventory. And what I did was I had taped letters to houses that I wanted to buy. And then I had posted on the Nextdoor app. And I was like, hey, here's the deal. We want a family home. So this isn't like an investment property or whatever. This is for our family. And we want to buy your house. We want to buy it, though, without just as a for sale by owner. That way we can work in the commission that we would have paid to an agent. That's going to be the equity in the house. Yep. That's how we're going to start to create room. We're going to save money on everything, but we're also going to walk into some equity this way, because otherwise it would just be financed in, right? So you're not just paying like 20, 25,000, 30,000 or whatever it is to the agent. That's just 3%, by the way. That's not what that amount would be. It would be plus the interest. It gets all rolled into that, right? Because you're financing it. So for us, we were able to take a chunk just by doing that alone. So that's where, even though our house was worth this, we came in with this, then our down payment and everything else. Now we're all back. We're all on the same page here. It doesn't matter though, because there's a lot of you who aren't just starting off with a home. You already have some equity in your home. And so this applies to you too.
Thanks, sweetheart. So again, we are going to get rid of this mortgage and replace it with a first position home equity line of credit. And again, I understand these two numbers do not add up, but I'll show you why. I'm gonna break this down a little bit. So the home had originally appraised for about 467. So we walked into this home with a significant amount of equity. The mortgage balance was sitting at 357.5. How? Well, if you come over here to this 359, if you subtract the month that we were going through this, if you subtract the mortgage payment and the cost of the HELOC, this is the piece that I want to make sure is clear. People ask me all the time, why did I go with Bank of America? Bank of America does not offer the greatest product. It is because I've been with them for so long and because of the relationship. And this relationship afforded us a first position home equity line of credit at a cost of $250. We got rid of our mortgage and transitioned it into a line of credit for $250. This was the closing costs. And so once we completed the process, it gave us an ending balance on the mortgage of $357. So what we ended up doing was replacing this mortgage with a home equity line of credit for $357,000, $357,500. Again, at a 1.74% interest rate. And so Bank of America, again, this is one of those reasons why people don't like them. Bank of America requires a principal and interest payment. So in most cases, all mortgages are principal and interest. A lot of times when you convert from a mortgage over to a home equity, there we go, over to a home equity line of credit, in most cases, what's due on that home equity line of credit is simply an interest-only payment. But from Bank of America's perspective, they require a principal and interest payment. That didn't bother me. Here's why. I was dropping my monthly payment from $2,083 to $1,200. My cash flow is increasing. I don't care. And in addition, this principal and interest payment, the principal is immediately accessible the minute I pay it. So the minute I drop $1,200 onto this first position home equity line of credit, I have access to that principal immediately. So again, from my perspective, that's a win. But again, how did I get from here to here? It was the cost of the HELOC plus the mortgage payment is how this came about. And again, don't forget, there's still equity available. The home appraised at a certain dollar amount. The mortgage was sitting at this amount. This room is still accessible. I can go get a second position home equity line of credit if I wanted to, but I don't need to. And just so we're clear, we went from a mortgage of $357,000 to a home equity line of credit of $357,000. How much room is there for us to do anything? Can we use some of this dollar amount to go invest? We cannot. We replace the mortgage with the line of credit, which means the balance on the line of credit is now $357,500. That is what's due to the bank. There is no room for us to do anything. So if you're doing the math at home, this is less than 80%. So if we're talking about LTV, loan to value ratio, this $357,000 is less than 80%. And so there's still room, but that's not what we were going after. And in addition, in most cases, when you're getting a line of credit, banks will require you to pay off other debt, right? Before you get that line of credit, they have to pay off some credit card debt or pay off a car or pay off a student loan or something like that. Notice in this case, all we did was we did a one-for-one swap. We got rid of the mortgage, replaced the mortgage with a $357,500 first position home equity line of credit. All we did was a swap. But what does that look like over time? So what I want to walk you through is the first 4 months. Yeah, go about right there. Yeah. Let's start with the first 3 months first. So when we open this first position home equity line of credit, what's due is a principal and interest payment only. And at the start, I had to put in my first monthly payment at the start of this process. Well, there isn't much interest accrued at the start, so my monthly payment on day one was $1,179. And again, it's a principal and interest payment. So when you subtract $1,179 from this balance, it left a balance. This balance, the difference between these two dollar amounts, if I needed to go fix a car, and there was $1,000 bill that came from the mechanic, I have access to that dollar amount same day. So the minute I put the first monthly payment in, again, it's principal and interest. The minute I put the first monthly payment in, the difference between the original balance and where it's sitting, this dollar amount, that difference is completely accessible. Well, that was day one. What happened at the start of month two? Again, starting from day one to the start of month two, there are 31 days, because it started in January. There's 31 days between that original payment and the second payment that's due on month two. Notice the difference between these two payments. Why? Why are they different? Well, it's because from this payment to this one, there was 31 days of interest. Interest on a home equity line of credit accrues daily in most cases. In our case, it accrues daily. So what that means is every day, based on the balance of the line of credit, I'm accruing interest. And if you've been on this channel, we talk a lot about velocity banking. This is our debt tool. So why am I only showing this monthly payment going into this debt tool? I thought with velocity banking, you're supposed to put all of your income into it, right? Well, here's another one of those problems with a Bank of America line of credit. Bank of America says, we want to recoup some of the money we've spent. Because it only cost you $250 to get this line of credit, We need to, we don't want you to pay this line of credit off too soon because then they are losing money. So what they say is they put a restriction on. For the first 90 days, I can only apply the monthly payment. That's the only thing that I can put into this line of credit. I could use more of it, but obviously I didn't have any room. So I have to do my monthly payment only. I cannot put more than my monthly payment for the first 90 days. So that way, this vehicle, this $357,000 vehicle, can accrue 90 days worth of interest, and the bank can start making some money off of me because they know I have a plan. So for the first 90 days, all I could do is put in my first monthly payment due. And then the second month, it's a little bit higher because I have 31 days of interest in this number. But then in month 3, notice it's the same because I'm accruing the same amount of interest roughly based off the interest rate that we're using. And so the only thing due at the start of month 3 was that $1,566.38, which is the same dollar amount for month 2. But after the 90-day period, I can now start leveraging this or using this like a true debt tool and dumping more income in. Well, I want to walk you through something real quick. So let me come back up here. This stuff. So when we originally got this mortgage, when we originally picked up this mortgage, we had original plans of putting a down payment down, putting a lump sum down. We wanted to reduce the balance on this mortgage so that we would have a much lower payment. We were prepared to at least get as close to 50%, not 50, as close to 20% as possible because we wanted to get rid of PMI. And so we were prepared to put down at least somewhere around $50,000. But along the lines of our investigating of how we were actually going to use this mortgage and knowing that we weren't going to be in this mortgage long, we were going to move over to a home equity line of credit, we decided not to put a lump sum down. So this is the mortgage payment that we had as it relates to this vehicle after only putting down, I want to say 3%, or may have even been less than 3%. Why do I share that? Well, because we didn't put down a lump sum, that meant that our savings was still fairly healthy. And so at the end of the 90 days, again, day 1, I put in the principal interest due. Start of month 2, I put in the principal and interest due. Start of month 3, I put in the principal and interest due. Well, in between month 3 and month 4, I said, I don't know if this vehicle can actually be used as a debt tool, so I need to test it. Again, this is 3-4 years ago, so we were fairly green in this process, didn't fully understand it. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take $10,000 out of savings and just dump it into the line of credit. Let's see what happens. Will I be able to access it? Like what are the steps required for me to put this extra dollar amount in? So I just arbitrarily did a balance transfer of $10,000 from savings into the line of credit. When I did that, again, once I think it took maybe 2 or 3 days for the transfer to clear. Once that happened, the ending balance ended up at $345,109. Notice the difference between here and here. That's about 12 grand. I think almost 13 grand. So if we needed it, we have in this dollar amount right here, $13,000, almost $13,000 available. And I'm going to show you what it looks like in real time. But my point is the distance between here and here in the span of 3 months, we have about $12,000 of room created. How long, if you had a mortgage of $357,000, how long would it have taken in a mortgage to create that same room? Now, you might argue, I could put $10,000 on the mortgage and I'd have that space, right? But what would the mortgage payment change to if you put $10,000 on the mortgage? It wouldn't. It would stay the same. And in addition, if you needed that dollar amount, if something happened and you needed to leverage the difference between this number and this number, if you needed to leverage that $12,000 or $13,000, how would you access it? You can't. So in 3 months, we created space of about almost $13,000. And if we needed any portion of that $13,000 to do anything, we have access to it by debit card. So when I hit this point in this process, because I wasn't confident that this would even work here, wasn't sure here. Yeah, I can see the balance dropping, but I'm still not sure. But when this happened, that told me this vehicle's a little bit different. This vehicle is where I have the ability to do some things that I was not able to do with my mortgage. So now, what does month 4 look like? Now I need to digress. We will get into month 4, but month 4 is where we were honestly able to finally start doing velocity banking. As inefficient as this process has been, as inefficient as the HELOC that Bank of America offers is, it was in month 4 where we finally were in a position to do true velocity banking. So those of you who may not have spent a lot of time on this channel or may not understand velocity banking fully, just wanted to digress for a minute and just make sure we're all on the same page as to what I mean when I say velocity banking. What is it used for? Well, velocity banking is about leveraging a debt tool to be able to pay off debt at a rate higher than you would otherwise. And in addition, it allows you to increase your cash flow, strengthen your credit if you wanted to, but ultimately the piece for me is getting multiple uses out of the same dollar. So to me, that's the goal. What does the process look like? Well, as you generate income from your W-2 job, that income goes into a checking account. From that checking account, it goes into some form of a debt tool. We'll get into the types. But from that debt tool, you will then pay your bills. And then what ends up happening is the cash flow that's left over ends up sitting on this debt tool. So my point is, you go from here to some debt tool, pay all your bills from this debt tool, and what ends up happening is this cash flow that's left over ends up sitting on the debt tool, creating room. And so in this case, in our case, our debt tool is this first position home equity line of credit. So the idea is, hey, we're going to pay bills from this line of credit, and then the cash flow is going to continue to create room. Again, as I mentioned, I couldn't do this the first 90 days. It wasn't until month 4 that I could actually take this action. And again, what do you need to be able to do velocity banking? You've got to have cash flow. And you have to have a vehicle that is open-ended or at least allows you to be able to pay debts from the line of credit. And again, for those of you who may not have been here before, what do most people do though? I'm talking about velocity banking, but in most cases, what do people do when income comes into a checking account? They simply pay bills from that checking account, and then what's left over, the cash flow, ends up sitting in the checking account. That's what most people do. Banks love it when we do this. What I am focused on is getting multiple uses out of the same dollar. I'm looking at driving this income through a debt tool. There are many types. There's credit cards, there's personal lines of credit, there's business lines of credit, there's home equity lines of credit. There's many types. What we are talking about today, though, is a first position home equity line of credit. And specifically, again, the process looks or should look like this. The income you make goes into your checking account. That income immediately goes to that line of credit. Any bills you have, you're going to pay from that line of credit. And then as you generate or build cash flow, that cash flow lives and sits inside the line of credit. Why does that matter? Why is that important? Well, as your cash flow sits inside the line of credit, the balance drops. As the balance drops, the interest you were accruing over time is less. But in addition, there's room being created on that line of credit. And that room allows you to be able to take actions that you otherwise would not be able to take if you were just talking about a mortgage. Well, that's the velocity banking process, but that was not our process. Our process was not this efficient. And again, we educate on velocity banking. We educate on how to effectively do velocity banking. We could not effectively do velocity banking this way. So let's dig into what we had to do.
Well, part of it was because I also thought this was a whole big scam. I didn't believe it. There was no possible way that I was like, what are we doing? Why are we putting all of our money on the HELOC? Like, why would you do that? That doesn't even make sense. My whole life I've gone this far and I've not had to do anything like this. And so, yeah, it made me nervous, what he was talking about. And so a lot of what we were dipping a toe, right? We were testing it out. It was like our marriage or this HELOC. Just kidding. It was like, if we're going to burn, we're just going to burn together, or we're going to have to find some compromise. But here's the thing. What we learned through this process was it hurt us more than anything to try to find some sort of like compromise of where we felt safe and secure, because we didn't want to let go and do the math all the way through. Once we saw it, we were like, now we're all in, and now we're cooking with gas, right? So that's really the.
Did you just say cooking with gas?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw it in there. Some phrases I picked up, guys. So so the point
Inside
is,
joke.
yeah, it is an inside joke. The point is that we couldn't do the traditional velocity banking because we were not both on board, which is why we talk about so much of getting your partner on board, because it's very difficult when you are at home and you are arguing about one, it's the top reason why people get divorced, right? Arguments over finances. So it's a very touchy subject. And if you do not both believe in what it is that you're doing, or you can't be doing two different strategies, that doesn't work either. So the point is not just that we didn't know what we didn't know. It's also that we had some growing pains in understanding these strategies. And so what we're sharing with you isn't that now we're teaching about them, but back then we were still learning about them, right? And there wasn't necessarily somebody on YouTube talking about all this stuff that we could just log in and ask questions. So that's why we're out here talking about it, but it doesn't mean that we did it the most perfect way. This was just our journey. So you have opportunity to improve it. That's the good news.
And not only that, I go back to Bank of America. We couldn't effectively do velocity banking like this because the vehicle that I had with Bank of America wouldn't allow me to. Again, the thought process is income comes into your line of credit. I can do that all day long. But then I want to link the line of credit to all of my creditors to be able to pay bills from it. Bank of America wouldn't allow me to do that. The line of credit that we have is not set up that way. So we had to do things a little bit differently. Income still comes in the normal way. It goes into the checking account the normal way. Immediately, without fail, all income goes into the line of credit. What happens if we do that? Well, if the bill setup is such that I normally pay bills from my checking account, if I put all of the income that's in the checking account into this line of credit, the checking account is now left with zero. Linked to the checking account is this line of credit. That was the reason I could move funds over. And it's linked as overdraft protection. So what that means is, as my normal bills start to come out of this checking account that has no money in it, it is going to overdraw. And when it overdraws, these expenses that would have come out of the checking account ends up coming out of the line of credit. So this is our velocity banking structure.
Okay, and to be fair, did this make anybody else uncomfortable right now? Because this is the part where I was like, what are you doing? Show me how this makes sense. Like, the math does not math on this. So if you're feeling uncomfortable right now at this point and you're feeling like, I'm not going to listen to the rest of it, this is ridiculous, I am with you. I am team WTF, okay, which now means something else. But in this moment, it was really difficult for me to be like, why would we do this, especially with a HELOC, especially with a credit card, especially with anything? Like, why would you do that? So if that's you, jump in the chat, let us know.
And again, small caveat, 'cause the reason I'm sharing this with you is I know this is inefficient. There are better products out there. There's better products out there today. My point in sharing this with you is this: don't allow how efficient or inefficient a product might be to prevent you from accomplishing your goal. Just because I had to jump through a few more hoops, meaning I had to transfer the funds out of my checking account into the line of credit, and I had to confirm that when I overdraft this checking account, I'm not going to be charged for it. So there's not an additional fee from leaving this checking account at zero. So it's very inefficient, and I pay bills on the 1st and the 15th. So there are some manual actions that have to happen to make sure this process is in place. So what? Am I able to accomplish my goal? Well, let's get back to month 4. And so for this, sweetheart, I want to jump over to the screen share. So what I want to walk you through, what I want to share with you, is there a transition? Or can I keep talking?
Yeah, you can keep talking.
What I want to walk you through
I think it's
is
already
a
in
sheet that a really good friend of mine built for me because I was very unsure as to how to handle a home equity line of credit. So again, being the math guy that I am, I needed to see the math. Well, in Bank of America, you can't really see the math. So I sat down with a really good buddy of mine, and he built this spreadsheet that I'm going to walk you through. And I forgot I even had it. I don't use it anymore because I understand the math now. What I'm going to walk you through is the exact process that I use just to understand how money was transitioning inside of my account. Ready when you are, sweetheart?
Yep, here you go.
Okay. Let's see. Can we see everything? Can we see all the columns?
Yeah, I think everybody can see.
The top column, the names at the top are kind of cut off. Is there anything we can do with that? Not.
Yep, hold on. I didn't realize I could actually. Here we go.
There we go.
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Can we scroll over to the far left? There's more of the sheet in the left, the interest columns in the far.
Yeah,
There we
my
go.
bad. I think I had
There we
cropped
go.
your screen share for a different live stream.
Okay. All good.
Okay. Is that enough?
Yeah, and if you want, you can put me in between these two columns. You can put me in
okay.
between here.
There we go. Working it out, folks.
All right.
Thank you for your
So
patience.
this is a sheet that I use, and I'm going to make it larger and all that kind of stuff. So you may have to move me around a little bit, sweetheart.
Okay.
But this is a sheet that was created for me based off my input, meaning I needed some clarity around whether or not this process worked. And even though I've been watching the gurus, I've listened to Michael Lush, I've listened to Denzel talk about home equity lines of credit. Like, I've done my homework, but I needed to fully understand that this process was working. So let's walk through this sheet a little bit. What you're seeing here in this column is this is the HELOC balance. The HELOC balance started at 35.75, and over here, this is the average daily interest accrued. And that daily average interest accrued is based off a certain interest rate, 1.74%. There's a few buttons over here that does some calculations. I'm not going to get into that, but here's my point. I've got a 1.74% interest rate on a line of credit worth $357,000. If you remember, there was an initial payment of $1,179 that I had to pay at the start. But notice, I did not do anything else inside of this line of credit for the next 31 days, which means during that period, I was accruing interest. And that interest was right around $17 per day. So those of you who love the math, you can go grab your calculator, take your 1.74% times 357,000, divide that by 12, divide that by 31, and you will get somewhere around $17 per day. Is that a lot? Again, we're going to compare this to a mortgage, but just keep that in mind. This dollar amount, 357,000, is accruing $17 per day is what it's costing me. Stepping back and restating what I was saying about Bank of America. Bank of America would not allow me to immediately jump in and dump all of my income into this product. They had me wait 90 days. So here's the first 30 days. Notice, started this process 1/23 of 2020. Here we are at 1/20 or 2/24 of 2020. This is where I made my next payment. I was only allowed to make, within the first 90 days, the principal and interest payment due. And at this point, it was $1,566. Again, there's a difference between the initial of 1179. I'll highlight this a little bit more. Matter of fact, let me do this. Let me grab, where's draw? There and there. Okay. So there's a difference between this dollar amount. Oh, that's right.
Oh, you're fancy now. Look at
Not
you.
really. And this dollar amount, because I have to bounce back and forth, so it makes it inefficient. So I'll do it. I'll use it sometimes, but I won't use it often. And this dollar amount. My point is there's a difference in those two dollar amounts. And that difference is purely based on the interest accrued over this period of time. All right. So when I put in this dollar amount, of 1566, notice it subtracts from the line of credit. And notice this column. This column says the number of payments needed. This column is referencing what it would actually look like inside of my mortgage if I was making regular mortgage payments. What I'm saying is this column calculates how far ahead we are versus a normal mortgage. What does that mean? Well, this 10 says it would have taken 10 months, I think. Yeah, months. It would have taken 10 months for me to accomplish this same dollar amount inside a mortgage. So this 355,946, it would have taken 10 months to achieve that same dollar amount inside of a mortgage that we were able to accomplish at month 2. Again, a lot of numbers, a lot of stuff. I understand. But the key piece to I want to just make sure it's clear here is all I did was put in the principal and interest that was owed. So the principal interest from month 1 and the principal and interest from month 2 added together is what gave me equity room inside of that line of credit of about $1,500. Meaning, if I needed to access this $1,500, it's accessible to me by debit card. And this column, this is how much interest has been accrued over that period of time. So notice this $1,700 a month, this $17 a day, plus the interest from the initial payment. So these dollar amounts added together, it equates to this accrued amount of interest here. So what that's saying is over that same period of time, I would have paid back to the bank $1,100 in interest. Is that a lot? Here's why I ask. Let's just step over and look at an amortization schedule for this same dollar amount. Again, this is the amortization schedule. I'll make it bigger. One moment. There we go. So the starting balance on the mortgage was $359. The interest rate, that's not correct. The interest rate is 3.24%. So 359, 3.2, this is the actual amortization schedule from the mortgage. What this is saying is it would have taken 10 months to accomplish what I did in 1. So if we go to the amortization schedule, here, let me just go back and just restate it. We're talking about $355,946 is the dollar amount. At what point would I have $356,945? $356,945 would be right here. So it would have taken 10 months in the amortization schedule to accomplish the same. How much interest would I have in that period of time? Let me show you. So let's add up 10 months of interest from a principal and interest payments going towards the mortgage. And what happens during the first 15 years or first 10 years inside of a mortgage? Majority of what you're paying in your principal and interest payment is going towards what? Interest. So how much interest would I have spent in that 10-year period if I would have just stayed where I was? Well, it would have been $16,904. So again, in 1 month, I spent, or I guess 32 days, I spent about $1,100 in interest versus where I would have ended up in a mortgage spending $16,000, which is better. All right. So as we move down this HELOC sheet, again, that's month 2. As we move down to month 3, Notice the interest is still being accrued. It's gone from $17. Once I put in this payment of $15.66, the interest drops. It's dropped down to 16. So notice the interest is becoming less the more I'm making room on this line of credit. So as I move down to March 24th, so we've gone January, February, now we're in March. Here's that second payment of $15.66. The balance on the line of credit changes. Notice I'm now sitting at month 13 on the mortgage on the amortization schedule. Now, I didn't calculate any interest or anything for this month because I didn't need to. And here's why. If you remember that visual that I showed you, it was after month 3 where I got kind of, I'll call it, I wanted to take a risk. I've exceeded that 90 period wait time, 90-day wait time. So I wanted to dump in a lump sum into my line of credit. That lump sum that I wanted to dump in was, if you remember, $10,000. So what happens when I dump $10,000 into this line of credit? What happens mathematically? Well, when I dump $10,000 into this line of credit, the balance immediately goes from $354 down to $345. And the interest, again, calculated, is the $16.89 added up for the 30 days between the last time I made a payment to this period. So the total accrued interest at that period was about $1,900, and the accrued interest during that specific period was about $728. But notice the cumulative equity. This $10,000, when I put it onto the line of credit, immediately gave me access to $12,390. Like I mentioned, it was almost 13. My point is, this equity, this room that I've created on the line of credit, is immediately accessible. Notice I've gone from 13 months ahead on my mortgage to 35. Let's go over to the amortization schedule. How long? Well, at the 35th month on the amortization schedule, how much interest would have been spent during that time compared to I'm only in month 3. I'm headed into month 4. So I'm only in month 3. I've got 12.3K worth of equity available, and I'm 35 months ahead on my amortization schedule. Let's take a look at the amortization schedule. Month 35. That's here. So this is the interest that I would have accrued over that 35 months, which equates to what? That equates to $56,684 is what I would have spent if I would have made it to this exact same point on the amortization schedule. But because I'm able to aggressively address this balance and still have access to this dollar amount when I need it, I've only spent in equity $1,900. And again, I know one of your arguments might be, but you're only paying 1.74% interest. I'll address that. But you're right. In our specific scenario, the interest rate that we were charged on this line of credit is 1.74%. The original mortgage interest rate is 3.24, I think, 3.24, 3.25. Let's continue walking through.
To start.
So yes, to start. 1.74 to start. We're only walking through the first 6 months, and during that 6-month period, it stayed 1.74. I don't think my interest rate changed for the first 2.5 years. Just so we're clear.
So I don't want people to go, yeah, well, they're flexing this amazing
I'll
interest
get there,
rate that
sweetheart.
they have.
It was
just to start.
I'll get there.
Yeah.
I promise. So, and those of you who may be saying that, stick around. We will take a look at what this would look like as that interest rate continues to increase. We will take a look at it, I promise.
Yeah.
So here we go now. This is where, as I mentioned, I'm able to now start doing velocity banking. What does that mean? Well, that means that anytime income comes in, I'm going to put that income into the line of credit. Notice this says 415. I got paid twice a month. So when I got that first payment at the first half of the month, I dumped it into this vehicle. When I did that, the balance changed. And the way I had my bill set up, I didn't have to pay bills in that period until at the end of the month. And just so we're clear, I cannot do the full velocity banking process where I pay bills from the line of credit. If you remember, our structure was I had to pay bills from my checking account. Go ahead.
Yeah. I want to also throw in here because I forgot about this part. When we told this story about how we got 200 months ahead on our mortgage in 8 months, like this was part of that. But also what's important to note here is our income got crushed because of the you know,
The demic.
what happened in 2020. Yeah. The COVID. We're not supposed to say those words, or then YouTube will say we're not going to help people find your video anymore. So you guys know what happened in 2020. And because of that, we had a situation with our income. And so we had even less income, far less income than we had before. And we were still able to achieve these results. Just put that into perspective. Just the fact that our income was more than halved. That's crazy, right? Okay, continue.
And the piece that I want to make sure is clear here is, notice you don't show any expenses coming out. All you show is me putting in liquidity or putting in cash flow into the line of credit. And it's because I'm still learning how to use this thing at this point.
And he's still arguing with his wife about this strategy.
Right. So what's happening is I'm leaving the right amount in checking to pay bills. What's left over is what I'm dumping into the line of credit. That's the reason you're not seeing any expenses coming out. That's the reason, because I talked about leaving the checking account at zero. We're not at that point yet. Right now, I'm just taking whatever's left over and manually moving it to the line of credit. So as we continue to move down, notice we hit May. May looks a little bit different. May, this is where I'm testing. I am testing whether or not I can leave my checking account at zero, and can charges actually come out of the line of credit and not impact me and not cost me any more fees. So this is me testing it. So as my income goes in, I'm now checking or testing to see, and I'm using smaller bills that, you know what, I didn't want any large dollar amounts. So, hey, let's test this $87. Can I leave the checking account at zero and allow this $87 bill, whatever it was, I don't even remember what it was at this point, to come out? But notice, when I put my income in, the balance drops. When the charges come in, the balance goes back up. So it went down to month 48, meaning the amount of equity that I created inside this vehicle put us on the amortization schedule down to month 48. But then when I paid a few bills, I jumped back up to 46. So my point is, as these moving parts are starting to happen, I'm starting to realize this is actually working. And when you look at the equity that we have available, that's 18 grand in what is that, 4 months? 18 grand available. So if we needed it, we have access to it by debit card. Where are you in your mortgage? 4 months into your mortgage, do you have access? 4 months into your mortgage, how much room has been created? 4 months into your mortgage, how much have you spent in interest? And again, as inefficient as this vehicle is, there are better ones out there. Look at how it performed. And now this is the last piece, or second to last. So now we're at the end of May. Now I'm getting, I'll call it very aggressive. I'm putting in my income, and during that same period, I'm taking expenses out. So this is doing the math on its own as income goes in, as expenses goes out into that line of credit, which is why this dollar amount looks different. It was $2,500 at 5/4 in the middle of the month, but it's only $1,700 at the end of the month, and that's because I'm now paying larger bills. I'm becoming more comfortable with putting more dollar amounts into this line of credit to see how it works. And then, again, if you've been on this channel and you've heard me talk about velocity banking, I talk a lot about the money in savings. The money in savings should be sitting in that debt tool as well. Up here, I tested it. I took $10,000 out of savings and put it into this line of credit. Well, as I'm getting more comfortable, I said, you know what? Let's take some more savings and dump it into this line of credit. Is it accessible? So notice, by the end of May, we've jumped down to month 69 on the amortization schedule. We've got full access to all of this room inside of this line of credit. Where was that $10,000 doing better for me? Was it sitting in savings, collecting 0.01% interest, doing better? Or was it doing more work sitting in my line of credit, reducing the amount of interest that I'm paying on a daily basis? Which one is it? And I think the answer is pretty clear. It made more sense for us to take that dollar amount that was sitting in savings and put it in the line of credit because it saved us on daily interest being accrued. And then again, I started continuing to do or additional charges. So the last one here is on 614. This is the last one I'll show. Again, I've got income coming in, I've got charges going out. And at the end of 614, so we started in January, we're now in June. That's 6 months. In a 6 month period of time, we have amassed equity of around 37K that's accessible by debit card. And we are in a different place on what would have been the amortization schedule. We are at month 72. That's 6 years. So in 6 months, we have become 6 years ahead on our mortgage. In 6 months, we have become 6 years ahead on our mortgage. How much interest has been saved? A lot. Matter of fact, I think I got it here. Let me come here. I think all I got to do is scroll over. Yep. I'd already calculated ahead of time. At that 72-month mark, we would have spent $117,000 in interest. Whereas in the 6 month period of time, we've spent 3. 117 versus 3. Which is better? And now, to wrap this up, because I know it's a lot of math, a lot of sheets, I apologize. To wrap this up, what would this look like though? Because this is based off 1.74% interest rate on this line of credit. What would this look like if this was a larger interest rate rather? So what I have here is this exact same process. If we were to use, yep, there it is. If we were to use a 7% interest rate. So let me show you. So not 1.74, how about 7? So 1.74 is what I just showed you. What would this process look like at a 7% interest rate? That means we're paying a lot more in interest, right? So the daily interest, notice it went from $17 a day. I'm at almost $70 a day of interest being accrued in this product. Is that a lot? Is that too much? I know 7% interest is way more than 3.24%, right? And look at the interest I'm accruing on a daily basis. Almost $70 a day. Is that a lot? Well, let's come down here and I'm going to go immediately to the end. At the end of month 6, or in the middle of month 6 rather. So let's come down. So notice, this is the exact same process that I just walked through, the exact same dollar amounts, no change in dollar amount, but notice the interest is much higher and the amount of interest accrued is different. So when I come down here to June, right there. So notice, over the same period of time, at a 7% interest rate, where am I on the amortization schedule? Well, instead of 72, I'm sitting at 60. So there's a 12-month difference based off the higher interest rate. I'm at month 60 on the amortization schedule instead of month 72, which means I'm spending more in interest in this vehicle because the interest rate is higher. But please tell me, which is better? I think before it was about 35,000 in equity and room available. This shows 24. I get it. 24 is less than 35. But let's compare that to your mortgage. What is that interest saved in the mortgage?
Right.
How about 98,000 at month 60 compared to, what did I have? 10,000. 98,000 compared to 10,000, even with a higher interest rate, which is better.
Yeah, and here's the thing. If you were to walk into your bank and you were to tell them that you want a first position, they would walk you through the average daily interest
That's
And
right.
and you
This
would
is scary.
like immediately, how did that make you feel just off the
Right.
top? So
$70 a day is what you're spending on this product
they would not
versus
be
a flat monthly payment of $20.83 on your mortgage.
right. And you wouldn't be able to see the difference in the interest that you're saving. Again, it's buy two get one, right? And when you have a traditional mortgage, you're buying two houses, but you're only getting one. You only get to live in one. You're buying another one for the bank. That's essentially what it is. So when you become your own bank, now you're banking on yourself. Now you're recouping all of those. You're not saving money necessarily. You're just not spending more money. There's the difference, because the money that you're actually not paying hasn't happened yet. You'd still be paying the same amount, right? You'd still be making the same amount. You'd still be spending the same amount. Maybe your savings is not going into a savings account. Maybe it's sitting in the HELOC because you're smart and you do velocity banking. But if somebody were to have told you that all you got to do is switch one product for the other, and you will have saved yourself within 1 year over $100,000 in interest that you no longer have to pay. Somebody's asking, how would this be different if you're using a second position HELOC? Can it be done? We've talked about how you can utilize a second position HELOC to reduce your expenses. However, you're still buying two, getting one free. You're just, maybe you're buying one and a half, right? And you're still getting one.
So could we have done this process using a second position HELOC? Yes, but it also depends on the goal. If the goal is to pay down the mortgage, if the goal is to pay off the home, then what we would have done is leverage that second position HELOC to recast the mortgage, reduce the monthly payment.
Right.
And again, can you? Yes. A bit more complicated, but can you? Is it possible?
But that's why
Yes.
it's not one size fits all, because for
That's
us,
the part.
yeah, coming off the top with a brand new mortgage, it wouldn't have made sense to necessarily recast our initial mortgage. Even if we had a lump sum going in, this
Well,
is
I'm going to
such a
disagree
better
with you there,
strategy.
sweetheart.
I understand that it could be possible, but here's the point. When we start to look at what strategies would make me feel safer, what's the goal? Is your goal to feel safe? You can feel safe and still be broke at the same time. You can feel safe without any income. Until you don't have any income, then you no longer feel safe, right? And that's where
So
a lot of
emotion
people-
versus math.
Yeah, a lot of people are in that position right now where they're realizing that they made all of these decisions based off of what built confidence within them, based off of what other people were saying, or based off of what is like normal, based off of what the bank was comfortable with. And they would kind of give them this false sense of security by advocating for, hey, look, you're doing a great job. Or if you want to level up, then maybe you should try another one of these products. Watch Dirty Money, the Wells Fargo documentary, if you want to learn more about that. The retirement crisis that is among us right now is not just a retirement crisis. It will be a leverage crisis. If you have not become your own bank and you do not have yourself in a position to be able to pivot when you need to, take advantage of opportunities when you can, but most importantly, to be able to pay down your mortgage so that you have access to your equity, you have access to your leverage, and you can use it in a way that benefits you more than it's benefiting somebody else. For a lot of people, they wrap these countertops or they do home improvements with their HELOCs. Maybe they're wrapping other debt into their HELOC, but the behavior, the mindset that got them into these positions in the first place don't change because there's not a goal. A lot of the times, it's not a problem with this person, right? It's not that they have bad money behavior. A lot of times they just don't even know what's possible to be able to sink your teeth into to say this is the goal. For a lot of people, it is just that they don't know what they don't know and they don't know what's possible. After you've seen this, tell me you don't think it's possible. Tell me you don't want a playbook, a step-by-step guide for your particular situation and how to interpret all of this and how it would apply to your situation. Tell me you wouldn't want that, right? Who wouldn't?
So, sweetheart, we can. I'm done with this sheet. We can jump back over to the vibe board. I got 2 more slides. I know I've been talking about for about an hour and a half, and then we can jump into the questions.
Okay.
Got
All
2
right.
more slides.
Yep. Go ahead.
All right. So, again, today is not about should you. Today is about what it is we actually have done. how we have leveraged our home to be our own bank, how we have leveraged our home to be able to have access to that equity by debit card, how we have leveraged our home to be able to be placed in a position to where we can do what we want to do when we decide. So, who is most suited for a process like this? Again, to sum it up, is you have to understand velocity banking. You have to be comfortable understanding how this strategy works. So it's education. Use this channel, get educated, go through this video. And obviously, in order to participate into a product like this, you have to have some amount of equity. Now, notice, yeah, the home is worth what it's worth, but the amount of line of credit we received was just enough to pay off the mortgage. There was no room there. A lot of the examples that we walk through is there's this room between the mortgage and the line of credit that we access and use to go build your secure compound interest account or go do all these other things. Notice we were even. We had enough to simply pay off the mortgage. We had to create that space. But once we created that space, it's game on because now we have the ability to put that money to work. And in addition, you have to be cash flow positive. If you're doing velocity banking and you are in negative cash flow, do not do this process. It will not work out for you. And just being a few $100 cash flow positive isn't enough either, especially when we're talking about a vehicle that is in the place of your mortgage. Being cash flow positive is very important. Now, how much? It varies. This is not, again, not a one size fits all. And the stability, having stable income. Because if you are, again, I think this is not to get too in depth, but me as an entrepreneur, this is a huge, I'll call it a barrier for why it took us so long to get to where we are. Because as an entrepreneur, my income might not be as stable as I would like. I was very cautious when doing this process on what I was and was not willing to do as it related to generating income. I have to eliminate and or reduce risk. So I say that to you. If you're thinking of a first position home equity line of credit, you got to have equity. You got to be cash flow positive. You got to have stable income. And ultimately, you have to understand the strategy. And last thing, all we're talking about is where's
I got it. I got it.
all we're talking about is where's your leverage. This is about taking action and understanding where your leverage is located so that you can do what it is you want to do. Maybe your leverage is in your home. Maybe there's leverage inside of an old employer's retirement account. Maybe there's leverage inside of a properly structured cash value life insurance policy. Where your leverage is located is key because what's the objective? Once you understand, have an idea as to where your leverage is, the goal is to get multiple uses out of the same dollar. My income goes into my line of credit, satisfies the payment on the line of credit, reduces the balance on the line of credit, creates space on the line of credit. But then I can access those same dollars and go buy a car, pay a bill, fix a roof, take a trip, become a hard money lender, put that money to work. I'm getting multiple uses out of that same dollar. And then ultimately, it allows me to also pay down debt so that my cash flow increases. When my cash flow increases, what does that do? It allows me to get more multiple uses out of the same dollar. So this is rinse and repeat. And again, there's a lot here that we can go into detail about. The piece I want to make sure is left is this. Regardless of the type of vehicle, understanding how that vehicle works is key. If you can understand, again, as inefficient as this product from Bank of America is, we were still able to do some pretty efficient things. So it's less about where the product came from. It's less about how inefficient it might be. It's less about the amount of hoops I have to jump through to be able to move money around. It's, do I understand the strategy? Can I put the strategy to work? And here's the beauty about all of this, especially as it relates to my wife. As tough as it was to understand this process, once she got it, she got it. And when she saw the space being created on the line of credit, because think about it, we could have been, I don't want to say it was a bad thing. We could have been inefficient with the room being created on this product to use that equity to go get brand new countertops, to replace the flooring. But I think when she started to see that room being created, it was how can we better put this money to use to generate its own money versus now taking this equity that's been created to take care of some things that really don't matter. This home is a vehicle to use. This
Right.
home is leverageable. This is where we're finding our or able to access our leverage, go do other things. So it is less about carpet or countertops or anything related to what this home looks like. Can it be leveraged? Can we use it? Can we put this money to work? So
Is
the
it
priority
impacting our
shifted.
leverage?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm done. I'm done. I've talked enough.
Well, no, I mean, you could say all of the things, but it was how it was impacting our leverage. The decisions that we make now becomes weighed against how is this impacting our leverage? How much is this actually costing us? We had visitors today, and they were just stopping by to pick something up, and I was showing them. And here are our countertops from 1992 because I'm not playing. Like if I were, and I wanted to, I hate them. I think they're disgusting. I don't prefer to have them visually, but financially, like when you mathematically, those countertops would cost me more, money would go to die on those countertops, and it would impact my money machine, right? It would impact my cash flow machine and impact our leverage. So therefore, every time I go to say that I want something, or every time I go to say that we could do this, it'd be totally fine to do this. We have the room and we have the income and we have all of that to be able to make a decision like this. And I halt because I go, how much is this going to impact the money that the money is in the machine is making on its own without while I'm sleeping, right?
And because usually the slide after this is normally then what? So, okay, we've got this vehicle, we're able to generate and create room inside of that line of credit, and we have access to it. But what do we do with it?
Right.
That's where the secure compound interest account comes into play, because
Right.
now we take money out of that line of credit, put it in a vehicle that's going to generate its own money, and we spend that. We don't
Right.
spend this part.
Right. Yeah. And for most people, they're talking about using HELOCs and leveraging your home equity, and they're only talking about the spread on investments, right? They're not
Right.
they're not talking about it in this way. And so therefore, you do have to have a spread, but being able to strike while the iron is hot and having access, quick access, like you have liquid assets in a sense to be able to just write that check or swipe the card to take advantage of that opportunity. For us, that was, we had to buy 4 kids 4 vehicles within a year because they're all so close in age and they were leaving high school, and the other ones that used to get a ride didn't have a ride anymore. And so these guys have jobs, they can't different jobs, so they couldn't, share a ride anymore. And everybody needed a car, and it just happened in that time. And we were able to go do that. So what did that look like? We walked in and we played good cop, bad cop, right? And so we walked in and we negotiated what that price was going to be. They did not expect us to then say, we're paying cash. Cool. We like that price and we'll pay cash right now for that car. And they did not expect that 4 times. We went and found the cars that we wanted, and then we were able to walk out with the price that we wanted, right? Which made sense for us, but we weren't taking away from our cash flow to make payments now, right? On 4 vehicles. We were able to just say, now you pay us. Now that money goes into, now we're building a family bank, right? So this is a smarter, not harder method. This is what should be taught in schools. Every family should be functioning in this way so that they build a family bank that everybody can benefit from, because they will benefit from it if it's cohesive, right? If it's a cohesive approach to building wealth. And everyone has the ability to do it. It's just that many will not. And for the reasons that we talked about in the beginning, it's what do you believe? How do you feel about this information? How do you feel when somebody just says HELOC or home equity line of credit in general? That's enough to stop people from moving forward. And if we would, I'm so glad we did not listen to any of that advice. I am so glad we didn't. I am so glad you pushed forward, even when I didn't believe and I didn't see it. And you were like, look, you're going to see this when you see. I can't unsee it. So I want to move forward. And I was going, what is it that He believes so strongly that even though we are like fighting right now, we are arguing constantly about this, that he is continuing to push forward. What is it about this thing? So instead of pushing, I just decided to start asking, why? Please explain it to me, because you believe in this so much that I have to see it. There's no way that I can keep pushing back against you. I have to be able to see it, because I either want to believe it too, or I want to understand it to the point where I can debunk it and try to find the holes and the flaws in it, right? But you can't deny that spreadsheet. It's not just a spreadsheet either. We saw this happening in our account, so there's proof. Now we owe nothing. Now we just have the room to use it for whatever it is that we want.
And that was the beauty. I was using the sheet to verify my actual account. And the fact that I might have been off a few dollars, like a few pennies, but it was in line. And it was from that point forward, it was, yeah, we need to get this message out. We need to share. And you had been on me a while. Like, I think you'd been in clubhouse rooms talking about how far ahead we were on a mortgage. And I fought you on getting that message out fully, but I think we finally got there.
Yeah, we're here. We're here now. Boop. And we're so grateful for everyone who's tuned in to adopt these strategies too. If you found value from this video, though, from this live stream, please like it. Sequia is working her butt off to try to encourage people to hit that like button, just the thumbs up right down here at the bottom. Please hit that if you found value. That gives us a signal that, yes, this was valuable. We want more of this. And it also tells YouTube as well. So we really appreciate that. Okay, we've got a lot of questions. Are you ready to...
Is this where you tell me rapid fire?
Rapid fire, yeah. Okay, you ready?
If you guys have been with us a while, you know my rapid fire is not very rapid.
Well, we're both, to be fair, we're both long-winded. Okay, here we go. Tabitha says, was your Bank of America HELOC a first position or second position when you started?
First position. And because I'm sure there's a lot of questions around this, I want to make sure this part is clear. So this is the long-winded part. Most people who want a line of credit think, hey, I've got a mortgage, and if I'm going to get a line of credit to replace my mortgage, I have to have enough equity in the home to replace the full mortgage, meaning on top of the mortgage. So using this scenario, let me use different numbers. If my mortgage was 300,000, some people think I need 600,000 of I need 300 additional thousand of room inside the home, meaning the value of the home, in order for that 300,000 to then pay off the mortgage. That's not it. The home worth 300,000. Do I have 80% or more of equity? Yes, I do. And so this line of credit replaced the mortgage. The mortgage is no longer gone, or no longer there. So therefore, it didn't require me to have enough equity already in the home to replace the mortgage. It was all based off that 80% rule. So again, because I know there's some confusion around that as well. So, but bottom line is first position home equity line of credit. Go ahead, sweetheart.
Okay. Zandria and Matt are in here, and she says,
sorry, I missed you earlier.
She says, do you have to have equity or be in home for a certain amount of time before the HELOC would make sense or be available?
Two different questions. Make sense, available. I'll take the available part. And again, I'm dealing with Bank of America in my personal case. There are banks out there that do this way better, way more efficient, don't have as many rules. Bank of America's rule was we could not transition from a mortgage to a line of credit until, what was it, 6 months, sweetheart? We had to be in our home 6 months before we could transition. So do you have to have equity in the home? You do have to have some amount of equity. I'd say that 80% rule is a pretty decent one, but I've seen banks do 90. I've seen banks do 100%. But I think 80% is a decent one to be around, or to stick around. So do you have to have equity or be in the home a certain amount of time before the HELOC would make sense? Now, the make sense part, I'd have to put that in the position of what's the goal? Getting a home equity line of credit to have it, or getting a home equity line of credit so that you could actually take some type of action is key. So understanding what the goal is, because in a lot of cases, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. It may not make sense for you to get a home equity line of credit. So it's really kind of drilling down what's the goal. Go ahead, sweetheart.
Okay, Tabitha said some of these I think we may have already answered in the chat. Was your original mortgage also with Bank of America?
Yeah. No. So the original mortgage was, okay, I don't even remember who it was with. Not Bank of America. Yeah, I
It was
can't even remember
green.
what
It
the
was
name
like,
was.
yeah, it was
So
green.
what we ended up doing was refinancing out of that mortgage with whoever it was into a line of credit with Bank of America.
Gosh, the guy that we
I
got our
know,
mortgage
I
with,
know.
he
It's on
was
the tip
so
of my
cool too.
tongue.
Why can't we remember this
I'll say
name?
it later. I'll say it
Yeah.
later.
Okay.
Can't
It
remember.
reminds me of like National Car Rental, their logo, right?
See, now you
Okay.
got me thinking about it. Move on.
Moving
Next
on.
question.
Okay. All right. See, Scott says, are there any particular banks that do and don't offer the ability to link expense accounts to the HELOC? Great
Yes.
question.
So in our case, I'm going to say that our case is probably about as inefficient as you can get. I would have much rather had a bank that offered a sweep account. What's a sweep account? Well, there are banks out there that when you get a line of credit with them at midnight, anything in your checking account gets swept into the line of credit. What does that do? If you notice on that sheet that I shared, I was accruing interest daily. Well, if I had a sweep account, I would not have been accruing the same dollar amount daily. Why? Because every night at midnight, any dollar amount sitting in my checking account would have been swept into the line of credit, which would have reduced that daily interest. So there's an opportunity. So you can absolutely argue that I'm spending more than I need to because this process is so inefficient. But so there are definitely banks out there that do it better. There are banks out there that offer both a first position home equity line of credit and second, like you name it, it's out there. And I'm going to say because rates are dropping, now's the time to start jumping into promo rates. There are some great banks out there, great banks and credit unions out there that are offering promo rates on lines of credit as well.
Okay. It was Fairway Mortgage.
Fairway. That's it.
Yeah. Jeremy. That was his name. He was a cool guy. Okay. So let me go back through because I don't know that we've got all the questions starred. Barry says, is there an African American owned finance or mortgage company that does all in one loan first lien HELOCs?
So let's start with all in one first. You said all in one, so I believe you think all in one is a positive. I can show you the math where in most cases, most companies that offer all in one loans, because notice it's an all in one loan, not a first position home equity line of credit. In most cases, they are more expensive. So just because it's all in one doesn't necessarily mean it's efficient. And um, what I remember most when I was looking at all in one was the upfront cost. And here's why. They understand that the tool, the line of credit, is so effective, so efficient, they don't make much money. So they charge you these administrative costs and these closing fees unnecessarily so that they can make their money up front because they understand that if you use this product efficiently, they're not going to make money in the long run. So I don't think all in one is what you want. Now, as it relates to African American owned finance, here's the problem with that. Whether they're African American or not, the problem is banks, life insurance companies, financial institutions don't care about you. So who cares what race they are? They will not be efficient enough for you to have control over your own dollars to be able to do what it is you want to do and how you want to do it. So regardless, I think the issue is these institutions are designed to milk you. These institutions are designed to put you in a position to where they have more control than you. So it's not the institution you want, it's the product. Is the product effective enough so that you can take action? My take.
Yeah, we also double down on that when it comes to religious affiliations too. There's a lot of people out here who will lean on that type of information when they really don't have your best interest.
Right.
But this is that confirmation bias, right? We want to like someone and then we want to make decisions about our future or trust what it is they have to say. Do the math. Anything that you learn here, you can then don't believe us. You
Right.
go do the math.
Right.
Right. Don't believe a word we say. Go and prove it for yourself. Do the long math. And when you start to see that this stuff does work, that if you go to ask somebody else and they say, no, don't do that, it doesn't make sense. Who would want to pay $69 a day? Well, the Stidhams just showed me that I could, even though they paid off their home in less than 4 years, that it may take me 5.
Right.
So you're telling me that you would rather because you feel more comfortable with it, that somebody else would rather you spend 30 years and buy two, get one, right? Buy two, get one homes, give one to the bank, you're keeping another one. They would rather you do that because, you know what? It's just a safer strategy. It is not a safer strategy. It's a freaking scam. That's what it is. Let's call it what it is. And there are a lot of people out there who would much rather you make extra payments on a car note, on financing your roof, right? When you need to have that replaced. Add it up, new AC, whatever the case is, whatever it is, medical bills. They would rather you be making extra payments and your cash flow being scattered out. What happens when you pour water in a cup versus if you take that same amount of water and you spray it in the air? It's the same thing with cash flow, right? So that's why it's important to understand and to do the experiments for yourself and to do the math all the way down so that you understand the benefit. I promise you, you can subscribe. We would love you to subscribe. We would love you to come back and talk about these things with us. But we do not want you to just believe a thing we say, because everything that we've done is just everything we're talking about is our personal experience. And again, I would not have believed it if somebody would have told me we could pay off the home in 4 years. All we got to do is, everything he just showed you made me so uncomfortable that I was like, yeah, that sounds way too good to be true. But now I know it's proof. And so that's why we're out here talking about it. We really do mean it. If we didn't have access to the information that would have showed us that this strategy even exists, that this was a thing in the first place, we would have been like everybody else. We would have been like, how are we affording America these days? And gosh, this government, it really is impacting everything that we can do because we're at the mercy of other people who get to make decisions for us, right? We're not anymore. And that's powerful.
One other thing I'll say about this question is, do your due diligence around making sure you're interviewing banks. Meaning, don't, regardless of the institution, don't take what one bank says as gospel. Interview banks, interview credit unions, and then take their information that they share with you and share it with the other institutions. Pit them
Yeah.
against each other. Put them in a fight. Have them fight over your business. They think you need them. You don't. When you learn this information, when you realize banks just sell products, they are supposed to be the subject matter experts, but in truth, they only sell what their boss tells them to sell. So when you walk into a bank, 9 times out of 10, you can be talking home equity line of credit all day long. And their message to you is going to be, but this this mortgage over here, interest rates just dropped. You don't want a home equity line of credit. You want this mortgage because, hey, last month they were 7%. They're 6, they're 5.5 now.
Yeah.
In truth, all they're doing is selling you a product. So please take the information that they give you and then go to the one across the street. See if they can do better. And then go to the one down the street. Then get online. Pit them against each other. Don't settle for just what all-in-one can offer you.
Yeah, that's true. And then also a lot of people will say, don't start with velocity banking if you're trying to purchase a home, because then you won't be able to qualify for the home. And again, that's been said because of the utilization of credit. So there's a lot of people who have strong opinions who will not do the math. And I get it. I'm on my healing journey with math. I would run from math. I'm more of a sheets person, so I can see that it's happening, right? And I don't have to do it in my head and trust that, like, if I make an error, this is an error I'm making for my family, right? Financial security. Like, I was not comfortable with that. So there's a lot of people out there, even professionals, who also are not, they do the surface math just off the top. There's no need to do any more math than necessary. Whoa, with all that math, just stand back, because it does make people feel uncomfortable. And so if you have if you have access to tools, cool. If you can make some tools, even better. But we have to start banding together and doing this. We have to start sharing this information out. Share this with somebody that you know. We have to start doing this because the access to leverage, the access to opportunities is becoming far and fewer between, but also it is becoming more costly. It is becoming more expensive to opt into these opportunities, just off the top, because of the corporations and the access that they have to leverage. They are swallowing cities whole right now with real estate. What does that mean for your kids? What does that mean for your grandkids? What does that mean for them when they need to be in a position or want to be in a position to buy a home? They can't all live in your house if you pass it down. And I promise you, with the way the inflation is going, if you think that sitting on your home equity and letting it collect dust, that is somehow some inheritance, watch how fast it's liquidated when you pass. And then it becomes somebody else's problem because they don't know what to do. They have the financial literacy is really the problem, but it's not. Access to information is the problem.
Right.
That it's not that everyone's walking around here financially illiterate. It's access to this information, because the information that's being projected out there is the information that says get that 30-year mortgage. It's the information that says get the 15 and pay more, right? Get the 15 and pay more, make extra payments. You should do that. You should maybe put a little bit extra on each bill, because that's somehow going to make a difference when we're wasting time. We're wasting time where that money could be making its own money, and we are not building machines fast enough. Matter of fact, some people never build machines, so their money never makes its own money. And it's not because they didn't want to. It's not because they didn't want to. If somebody said, would you like to win the lottery? Would you like to pay your home off in 4 years and also have monthly income for the rest of your life that is tax-free? Would you like to do that? Nobody in their right mind is going to say no. Nobody. But they don't say it this way, right? They say, would you like to take some risks? You could lose it all. Or you don't have to lose it all. You just have to have a strategy and stick to it. So there it is. I'll stop there because we have more questions. Che says, does this sheet only work for a first position HELOC?
So the way this sheet is specifically structured, I'm going to say yes. But if you replace the full first position home equity line of credit with a second position, it's just a change in dollar amount. The performance and how you use it is ultimately the same. So I think this is designed for a first position home equity line of credit, but I think the sheet itself and how it functions and the inputs and the calculations, I don't think it matters.
But Shay, and hi, by the way, we love it when you jump in the chat. You can also go to Zillow or go to calculator.net and use their mortgage calculator there. And then you can compare and do the math right there for yourself. So if you wanted to kind of test this out, there was that calculator tool. Okay, I have this calculator tool that we were using for velocity banking when you add a chunk in, and you can use this for mortgages too. So I think what I'm going to do is I'll go find it. So after this stream, I'll put it in the description or pin the comment up at the top so that you can have access to that calculator too, because that was a good one as well, where you could add the chunks in, because we don't have the ability to share this with everybody since we didn't make that sheet, right?
Right.
But you can also use the velocity banking worksheet that we have to keep track as well. So I hope that helps. All right. Antonio's like, I wish I could just call in right now. And I wish that he would, because I think that would be cool. Or maybe we just have him on to talk about HELOCs in general. I don't know if you're still watching, but I did ask you a question in the chat. Yeah. Check your messages in the chat, Antonio. All right. Somebody was asking, how do you calculate the equity? And so he was sharing that the estimated home value, he was sharing kind of how to go about finding that and what that equation looks like. Do you agree? Do you not agree? Did anybody else want to get this formula real quick? You can screenshot it. Boop. You good with it?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not. I think that this is a great...
I don't know. I mean, it's just math. 80% of 375 is whatever it is. Again, a first position home equity line of credit is doing what? We're replacing the mortgage.
Right.
So
That's
if
the only difference.
80% of, and again, it's 80% of the appraised value,
Right.
not 80% of what the mortgage is. It's 80% of what the appraised value is.
Right.
And that is what we use to end up replacing our mortgage. And again, I didn't refinance with the mortgage company. What I did was I replaced the mortgage company that held our mortgage with a brand new product that paid off the mortgage, and what was left was the debt on the home equity line of credit. So I think the math that he has here, that's correct math. It just has nothing to do with what we've been discussing. So,
Yeah.
it's all good.
And that was the only thing, is that the majority of people would look at this and they wouldn't disagree with this, because if they went to their bank, this is the same amount of equity that they would be told that they had access
Right.
to. Because most bankers, most people sitting in this department, when you call your bank or you call your lender, they don't even know what a first position HELOC is. I think it's becoming a little bit more common, but you had a hunt, Grace, from Bank of America. Shout out to you, because you were the only one. We literally had to hunt this lady down just because she was the only one. She was like the unicorn of Bank of America, not even in the same state as us. Probably how many 12, 15 departments you had to go through to find somebody. You had to keep explaining to it over and over again. You're like, you offer this product. Hello, get with it. Like, can I speak to the supervisor? Like, you didn't go level 5 Karen or anything, so that's good. But you educated everybody all along the way, and that was important. But you had to do all that work. How many people would have stopped at the first one or two, right?
Right. One other thing to note, when we were kind of headed down this path, again, if you look at the dollar amount that I referenced, it cost $250 to get a first position home equity line of credit. $250.
Right.
All Bank of America did, they didn't even do a full appraisal. It was a drive-by. It was an AVM. Because of where the home and again, so that appraisal wasn't even, I'll call it a full-blown appraisal done on the home. It was an AVM.
Yeah, it's like a drone or whatever.
No, it's well, I don't know how they do it. I think it is an actual drive-by. Like, they drive by the house. I think it's an extra drive-by. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, anywho,
There's an automated portion and a drive-by portion.
Yeah, and their appraisal was different than the appraisal we had when we got our first mortgage. That's what shocked me, was that it did not appraise for that much. But, real estate's been rising, so like, I get it, but it was still different in that way. So I personally think now our value has almost, well, it's more than doubled. It's been higher, it's been lower, but it's more than doubled since we purchased our home in this last 5 years. So if we wanted to, we would have all of that equity to take advantage of too, right?
What you have to remember about this discussion, and that's everyone, what you have to remember about this discussion is there's things that you can argue with. You can argue with whether or not it makes sense to do a X amount of interest rate compared to another. You can argue whether it makes sense to do a home equity line of credit or all in one. You can argue a whole lot of things, but what you cannot do is you cannot tell us that we're wrong, because
Right.
this is the actual math. This
Yeah.
is exactly not kind of what we're doing. These are the exact steps that we have taken.
And there's a lot of people out here who would say, if you were to ask them how much in retirement do you have, they would include their home, right? Their home equity, like the value of their home would be a part of that. But then where are you going to live? You have to buy in the market that you're selling in, right? So it's so backwards in this way. If you were to ask them, well, how much income will that produce for you through retirement? And when we say retirement, we're not talking about golfing and traveling, even though that sounds amazing. What we're talking about is when you can no longer trade your time for money, or shouldn't trade your time for money. For some people, it becomes unsafe, right? For some people, it's health reasons. For some people, it might be family related. It doesn't matter. For me, this decision for us happened when I was in my late 30s. Like, chronic illness hit us hard, and we did not see that coming. That was not that wasn't on my bingo card, right? After spending all the time in school and getting all of these degrees, the last thing that I thought of was that I was just going to have like a whiff of time to use them or to earn income from them, with them, right? Before it would be completely gone. Nobody sees this coming. But there's only one thing that we're guaranteed. There's only one. There's one thing that we're guaranteed. And we all hope it's a good day when that doesn't happen, right? So we have to plan to make the best out of the time that we do have, and working smarter, not harder, should be on everybody's priority list. Okay, you ready for the next one? Okay. C. Scott says, can I be a Stidham child? Could use that new ride. You guys have done it right. I'm trying to get there. I'm framing this, by the way. I'm clipping this out for those who do not understand, because they don't know how we grew up, right? They have no idea how different it is, and how becoming financially free, financially stable, financially secure is not an option in this family. And that is a cycle that we've broken. That is a new standard, right? That we've had to establish. I wouldn't say that we're doing it right. There's no handbook for this. So we're just doing it. So join us. If you're out there trying, you've got some Gen Zers or Gen Zers, whatever they are now after that, grab your gens, and we all are in this together. But we have to change futures, and we have to do it by creating new standards, right? And crying a lot. Maybe a little yelling, just a little. Okay. Alvin says, how long did it take you to pay off your house with the HELOC? And thanks for tuning in, by the way.
I don't know.
Well, we argue about
Because
this
we
all
go
the time.
we go back and forth about this all the time. And here's the why. Here's why we don't know. Again, usually at the end of this slide deck, there's a slide that says, now what? You've
Yeah.
got this equity. Now what? What are you going to do with it? How are you going to put it to work? Or is it just going to sit there? And so what we do is we take equity out of our home and put it in a vehicle that can generate more income. So when we take that equity out of our home and put it in another vehicle, the balance goes back up. So even though we were making progress to pay this home off, when we take a dollar amount out and go put it in elsewhere and the balance goes back up, that just negated all of that progress. And then we spend all year paying it back down again. Then at the end of the year, we take another sum and throw it into another vehicle, and the balance goes back up. And we've done that so much that I honestly don't know when the actual moment was there was no more balance due. And it's because this will forever be a vehicle that we will leverage over and over and over again. Because here's my argument. I am petty to the point where we will never pay this home off. So that means we will forever be accruing interest in this vehicle, paying the bank interest. I am okay with that, because at the same time, I've got money making money for me, and there's a positive spread being made. The interest that I'm paying the bank looks like this. The interest we're making on the money that we're putting to work looks like this. I will do this all day long forever. Matter of fact, we can still pay double for this home in interest as long as I've got this spread, because what that means is I'm making triple in another vehicle. And I know it sounds strange, but I will happily pay double for this house. I will happily give the bank double what we've paid to leverage these funds to go take action all day.
Yeah, the spread, the arbitrage, the spread really does make it matter, but it's also being able to take advantage of those opportunities. Sometimes you can't make payments on something and make a difference. It's that lump sum that starts compounding faster that does make the difference. The math completely changes, right? Those opportunities to jump in where maybe you don't qualify because you don't have enough to jump in on an opportunity. That happened to us, where we saw some of these larger opportunities for in the self-storage community, for instance, just as one, right? And you had to have a certain amount to get in. So unless you were part of a group fund where you could add whatever it is you had, right, into it, then go all in together, then you didn't qualify. You can't take advantage of those opportunities. And the returns are insane when you do have more access to more capital, and you can leverage deals like that. Then it makes sense.
And I don't think I've said it during this live yet. So here's what also makes me, I'll call it a bit ridiculous. And my wife brought this up last week. I think it was last week. And I really don't have an answer for it. And it's like this. As inefficient as our Bank of America home equity line of credit is, we have the option to lock in our interest rate. So this example we walked you through showed a 1.74% interest rate. As of today, the interest rate on our home equity line of credit is 7%, which means I had time to lock it in at 2. I had time to lock it in at 3. I had time to lock it in at 4. And it's still not locked in. And my wife asked me the other day when we were headed to dinner, why haven't I locked in the interest rate? And I don't have an answer. And I think it's because I'm so ingrained in leveraging and using the funds that what the interest rate is doesn't matter because of the rate that I'm able to pay it down. Because of the velocity of money through velocity banking, it's less about the interest rate, it's more about access. But still, can you imagine having a first position home equity line of credit today with a 2% interest rate? Like
Yes, I can.
that's
Yes,
unheard
I
of.
can. Thank you for asking. Yes, I can. I can imagine that. And that's why I always ask this question. Thank you for asking. And thank you for sharing that too. Because in those moments where I go, why? Why are we not doing this? Why are we not calling in and locking this rate down? And me knowing that it really isn't making that much of a difference, that this is
That part.
this is splitting hairs. Yes, it could be improved. Yes, we could be we could be paying less, absolutely. But if I'm going to pick my battles, right? It's not going to be over. We paid our home off in less than 3 years versus we paid it off in less than 4 years. Then we paid it off in less than 5.
And hold on, it's actually even closer than that. Like I did the math a long time ago. I don't remember it, but I'm talking if we're talking a 3% mortgage compared to, I think it was a 9% home equity line of credit, it would take, I think, 13 or 14% to equal the amount of interest that I was spending on the 3% mortgage. So it's not even close. So what you're saying is, like, if I had locked in that 1%, that's kind of, if I'd have locked in a 3% line of credit compared to the 7, we're talking if the goal was to pay off the line of credit, we're talking a difference of 2 months, 3 months in interest. Like it's very negligible in the grand scope of things, but that still doesn't mean I missed an opportunity to lock in this interest rate at a pretty dang low rate.
Yeah. So, Elvin, I'm glad you asked this question because we like to argue about this all the time. And we've even asked our
We
audience.
like to.
I put it
Like I got a choice.
I put it
We like
on
to.
Instagram and Twitter to ask people, what do you think? Here's a situation. Here's when the balance of the home was paid off, even though the HELOC isn't paid off. Would you still consider that the home is paid off? And I shouldn't have told people what your opinion was and which one of us thought yes or no, because I think that people just wanted to agree with you anyway and say no. But then when I said, okay, if you had a credit card and you put the TV, charge the TV, a brand new TV on the credit card, right? Then in, let's say, 10 months a year, you had paid that off, but you still have a balance on your credit card. Can you say that you paid the TV off? Yes. Okay, well then the house is paid off. So everybody who comes up against me with this argument, I use that analogy and they agree that the TV is paid off, even if there's still a balance on the credit card, because those charges, that balance belongs to something else.
Okay. Apply that same thought process to a car. Did you get the deed? Do you have the title? Not deed. Do you have the title? If you're doing this and you don't have the title, you don't own the car.
No, it's
The
not
bank
the
owns the
same.
car.
It's not the same. It's not the same because you
I'm just
can't
saying.
put extra things on your car loan.
And just so we're clear, you're right, by the way. But my argument is still the same. Until we have the deed in hand, we don't actually own this home.
Okay, I didn't say we own the home outright, paid off.
No,
I said we paid off the
When I hear
the
paid
house.
off, I think of home.
Yeah, well, potato. We're both right, and we're also winning, even if we don't agree about those.
Girl, let's get through these questions.
Okay,
It's 2 hours in.
hold on. I'm trying to bring them up.
Because we also want to give away a boat.
I do want to give away a boat. If you're new here and you don't know why we give away the boat, I can tell you in just a second, and we will argue later about that. Okay, Donald says, "What about reverse mortgage?" It's a great
Yep.
question.
Um, there are situations where a reverse mortgage may make sense. And I'm not talking about the Tom Selleck reverse mortgage.
Wow,
It is really
shots
no
fired.
different than life insurance based products. Who you get it from, how it's structured, all of that stuff matters. There are situations where it would make sense for a reverse mortgage. But what is a reverse mortgage? A reverse mortgage is really a first position home equity line of credit with more fees. Reverse mortgages are super expensive, but there may be some situations where, an elderly couple, it may mathematically make sense for them to still go ahead and get one. It is not a one size fits all. My suggestion would be to do your homework, because there are some charlatans out there. Um, but I can identify scenarios where it makes sense. But in truth, a reverse mortgage is just a first position home equity line of credit with more fees.
And that's that. And also, those HEAs that are out, I know a lot of influencers are getting paid to do videos about them. They're getting paid handsomely to do videos about them. And if you want to know more about what they have to say about you as a customer, go and pretend like you're going to partner or invest in their company so that you can hear how they talk about you. That is at the bottom of most web pages for most HEA home equity agreements, most HE loans, so, and including reverse mortgages. If you look at that information so that you can understand how they're making money and what you mean to this company, then you would then understand how they're profiting and if it makes sense for you or not. So now you go back and read the fine print, and now you'll start to see why those words are in there, and it might make more sense then.
Can I do something real quick?
Sure.
Um, so I want to bring this up.
Okay.
Um, I actually appreciate the comment. Hold on. Why'd it go?
No, I just put the banner down.
Oh, put it back. I actually appreciate this comment, because here's the truth about lines of credit. And again, we talk about this heavily on this channel. Just because it's a line of credit doesn't make it efficient. Just because it's a line of credit doesn't mean you should get it. Understanding the understanding the strategy, why you have the line of credit, what it looks like to use it, how your cash flow fits, like your full financial picture as to whether or not a line of credit fits into your full financial picture is important. So it's not hey, just because we say words like home equity line of credit, you should go out and get one. Absolutely not. If you don't, if you don't, we kind of mentioned it. If you don't have a stable income, your cash flow positive, you understand how this strategy works, this can hurt you. So it is important that you understand what it looks like and what it means to have a line of credit, because it is not a one size fits all. This is not for everyone. But when you do understand the strategy, and when you do understand how this line of credit fits into your financial picture, it's these three circles that I normally bring up, and I didn't today. It's we make income, we have a home, we have a retirement that we're trying to build, a retirement nest egg. Again, we've got income, we've got a home, we've got this retirement nest egg. Most of us will pillage our retirement, pillage our income to generate or have a mortgage, a home. And that's backwards. Our income and our home are both leverageable vehicles to help build our nest egg. But we have never been educated on how to leverage our home. So a comment like this, like I get it. Like when you walk into Bank of America, we've been conditioned to believe that they are the subject matter experts. When you listen to Dave Ramsey, the gurus online are telling you that the only way you're supposed to make money, or the vehicles that you're supposed to use, look like this. And we accept that. We are sheep out here. But when you start peeling back the layers on these vehicles, what you learn is all they're doing is selling you a product. Mortgage, look it up. The Latin term for mortgage is death pledge. It is not a vehicle that's designed to help you. It is a vehicle that's designed to buy the bank another house. So, is there a better way? Is there another vehicle that, if we leverage it properly, we can still accomplish the same goal, but also put ourselves in a position to where our income and our largest asset, our home, can both be used to build our nest egg so that we can fire our jobs? Again, I, I'm not a fan of banks, financial institutions, life insurance policies. Life insurance companies, banks, financial institutions, life insurance companies. The objective is to become them. The objective is to understand how they make their money. Banks use your mortgage to create a spread so they can go and invest. Why wouldn't you? Why would you leverage your home to create a spread to go make more money? Why is it okay for the bank to do it and not you?
And also, we already covered this, Spank Me Pink. In the very beginning, we talked about how trash HELOCs are and why it's still worth tuning in to find out how we leveraged those, even with the terms being complete garbage and the risks, all of those facts, everything that you're saying. We still accomplish something most people never do in their lifetime in the last handful of years using a complete garbage product. So you're absolutely right. We are not saying that you're wrong to say that HELOCs are not good. What we're saying, though, is that if you're running just because of the word HELOC being there, this whole live stream was for you. Just for you, because that was exactly where I was. I ran too. I wanted to believe all of those things, and no one could have just told me and made me believe. I had to see it for myself. So now that we're proof, we know that proof is power, and being able to share it with others so that they can start their journey and have access to this information to start building their own cash machine, to become their own bank, to leverage their own equity, to skip past steps, skip past years and decades, and holy cow, have access to opportunities that you did not have yesterday. Literally could be the difference of today and tomorrow. That's powerful. So we get it. There's nothing wrong with sharing that information. I'm glad you did, because there's a lot of people that feel just like you, but I was one of them. But today's a new day. So we have a few more. So Brenda says, do lenders sell HELOCs to servicers like they do with mortgages?
In most cases, no. Matter of fact, let me not say most cases. I don't know of a lender who offers a line of credit. I think they're usually banks or credit unions, and not necessarily lenders specifically.
Okay. And Novella says, can I do this with a paid off villa?
I'm sorry, I'm still thinking about
Where is it? We might need more information. Also, if you have questions and you're like, I don't know how to jump in the chat, or I'm watching the replay, so dang it, I missed this. How do I get my questions answered? You can put them in the comment section below, and we will definitely get to them there. We love the comments, so if you got value, please add those comments in there after the stream is over, because that adds value and tells people it's valuable as well. And we really appreciate that. If you would like to, though, you can also just book a call with Donnell and you can discuss anything there. You can get all of that. Here we go.
So the paid off villa part, I don't know if this is a rental property. I don't know. But I think the easiest thing to do is to ask the financial institution. That is, you can't get a HELOC through me, so I'm unsure. I do know there are the banks out there will do investment properties. So if this villa happens to be an investment property, then yes. But that's not all banks. There are select banks, and again, depending on the state that you're in, like there's all sorts of little rules there. That's where I go back to interviewing banks and credit unions is the key.
Yeah, but the other thing is, if they say, what are you going to do with this HELOC, right? Because they're all in your business. When you go to have the HELOC conversation, they want to know what you're using it for. They want to say, oh, because we might structure it different for like a home improvement loan. You might have access to other things, right? So they want all your business. If you go to firstlienheloc.com, firstlienheloc.com, all spelled out, they have designed their HELOC. This is just an example, and we don't get any credit or any compensation for this at all, for sharing. We only share, and this is why we don't make agreements like that, because we only share if we find it valuable. If you go to firstlienheloc.com, they have designed their HELOCs for people who are using it in tandem with velocity banking. So they already understand, they already know the program, they understand the assignment. And if you tell them I'm doing velocity banking, here's my goal, they get it. You don't have to explain it to them. Everyone else, you're going to have to explain, well, what the heck is velocity banking? Matter of fact, somebody tried to give us advice for our YouTube channel, and they were like, nobody knows what this velocity banking is, so just stop trying to do videos on it, because that's why, you shouldn't be doing videos on it anymore. It's like, we don't care. We're going to talk about what the strategies that we're using, and the people that find us, but we're not going to cater the information to cater to some algorithm or what a platform wants us to do. We're going to share our journey, and this is a big part of that, right? So that's why we're going to share it, even if it's not popular. First position HELOC, do a different topic because it's not popular. We literally don't care. We don't care. The people who are finding us, we're trying so we could find more people, but we can't change our strategy or our story to be more popular. It's non-traditional. Like, nobody's talking about it. Yeah, it's a snooze fest. I was not excited. I was like, I did not marry into math. I'm sorry, not into it with you in that way. That was not a good time for me. But now it is, because it's not just math, right? We're not talking about retirement accounts. We're not talking about balances on a mortgage. Those aren't the discussions that we're having. What I hear when we're talking about this stuff is the future that my granddaughter, my grandkids will have, right? The future that our kids will have as parents, and what they'll be able to provide, and the feeling of becoming a parent and having stability, or joining in union with somebody and having stability. Like, we don't know what that feels like, right? We had to create that. And so knowing that we can be the change that we wish to see, knowing that nobody was able to do that for us, not saying that they didn't do their best, we're not able to provide that to us. We can do that for future generations, knowing that the gaps are growing exponentially, knowing that they need the help. They need the steps up. They need the ladders. We have to provide them. Are you ready to move on?
Let's go.
Okay. So Garrick says, how do you pay your property taxes? Yep. By the way, Garrick got it. He said he got a first position HELOC from tuning into this channel. That's awesome.
Yeah, so property taxes. So this is one of those things where no one's coming to save you. It is all your responsibility. So I don't have a, what is it called? That account that bills when you're, what do you call it? There's principal, there's interest, and there's, I can't think of it.
Escrow?
Escrow. There we go.
Okay.
I don't have an escrow account because this is a first position home equity line of credit. There's no escrow account that is building so that, hey, when the taxes are due, they'll be due. I got to remember that date, or I'll get that little card in the mail, and hey, on the 15th of the month, 15. Well, mine is split in half, so every 6 months I've got my property taxes due, and I have to pay it. But the cool part is, where do I pay it from? Pay it right out of the line of credit. So what that means is the 6 months while I was accruing or increasing the space inside of my line of credit, I was paying the least amount of interest possible. And then on the date that I wrote the check or did the transfer for the property taxes, okay, it came out, but the balance went back up, and then I worked on breaking it back down again. So I get to keep my money versus it's sitting with the bank in some escrow account that they get to leverage and use. Right. I get to leverage the buildup of the property taxes, and then I pay it. So, but it is absolutely on us to do it.
Yeah.
Great question.
Give me that leverage. Give me my leverage. Tabitha says, that makes sense, honestly, as to why it's not locked in, the rate. Glad you brought that back up, Tabitha. Because of the velocity at which you're paying. However, it's also a major level of freedom that you've accomplished in the process, correct?
I am not beholden to what some bank is going to scare me with. Why? Because I have full access to my liquidity.
Yeah.
Can take action when I feel like it. If for whatever reason the interest rate isn't something that I like, then when I invest, guess who's going to end up paying that higher interest rate? Whoever I'm investing with, because I need to keep my spread.
Yeah. And I think there's been, like our oldest, he has been doing velocity banking since he graduated high school.
Yeah.
And he couldn't even fathom how strong his financial profile was compared to others that he knew, because he wasn't focused on using it, right? And so trying to explain to him even the difference of where he is and where most people his age are is like trying to explain a different language, right? To somebody. Like it is a different language for age groups, right? It really is, because it's not part of their conversations, right? Typically. So it's kind of cool to see that happen. But if you put your kids on autopilot, if you put your family on autopilot, right? Oh, heck, you could take it from me and put your wife on autopilot. just tell her we're going. It's non-negotiable. We have to go here. So ask questions. You can be concerned. Let's address those questions. Get your partner on board. You see now with our story, how long it took for us because we kept dipping a toe, right? Can we trust it? It's like walking on ice, right? Can we trust it? Are there any cracks? And we didn't have as much proof of people that we knew personally or access to people that had personally done it, right? We had books, right? We had a course, recorded videos type of thing. We really didn't have true access. Or if we did have access, it was always tied to somebody who was selling something or like an upsell to something, right? So we were just like, if we ask questions, we're gonna have to give them more information. And then we don't know if they're what they're saying because we can't actually prove that they did it, right? So that was why us being the proof matters so much. It really mattered to me seeing the proof. So I'm hoping that it matters to somebody else, and I'm hoping that you're able to have a different conversation with your partner if they're not on board. But if it's you who's not on board, get with it. What are you waiting for? If you want more information about these strategies that we use, all 6 strategies that we use, you can check in the playlist. We have talked about this for a year now. So everything that we've ever done has been talked about to this day, right? Yeah, we talked about it all, and then we're just going to keep going and peeling back more and more layers and showing more case studies on how we helped other people do it too. All right. C. Scott says, what is that website again, please? I put it in the chat, but it's firstlienheloc.com. And if you're looking it up, if you're doing some research on them, they are tied to First Savings Bank. Anthony Rushing, we've talked about him here on this channel. And we meant to have him on by now. Gosh, we've dropped the ball with that, right? We need to have him on. If you guys want him on, put it in there. We'll schedule it up if there's enough interest, I guess. Okay, yeah. Brenda's like, okay, can we get the boats out now? Yes. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And that is kind of the point of all of this. We didn't have a goal because we didn't understand how to what goals we could set or establish for us and our family. Now our goal is big. And when you have a big goal, every decision that you make along the way impacts that goal. That was why earlier we were talking about the countertops. We were talking about all of those decisions and how even my perspective on how we spend money, how we invest money, how we, where our money goes even changed when I understood how heavy a purchase or a decision could be and how the ripple effect, doing the long math, could impact. Well, these are the same types of decisions that we make every day, not just financially, to be able to hit our goals. And so this is why we give away the boat. It is based off of this story. It was seriously inspiring to us, and we use this concept in our home constantly. We hope that it inspires you too. Jump in the chat, #boat if you want to win a boat, and we'll be back right after this.
In 1998, a British rowing team dreaming of the Olympic gold found themselves ranked 7th. Their focus had always been on the competition day, but they realized the keys to reaching their highest potential were hiding in the decisions that they'd make over those next 2 years.
Faced with 2 obvious choices, continue their current path and expect the same result, or give up. They discovered a third transformative option. They united under one guiding question: will it make the boat go faster? Every decision, every action was weighed against this mantra. If the answer was yes, they could, but would have to do it.
If the answer was no, it was forbidden, non-negotiable. Prior to the competition, this team was doubted and ridiculed, but no one knew what they had been doing. And once they hit the water, they were nearly unrecognizable, achieved their pinnacle, and won the gold. So we ask you,
What is your goal? What are you willing to do to achieve it?
will your story feel unrecognizable, even to you? Are you willing to light your beacon and stay focused, stay committed? Is your story non-negotiable, or are you waiting to find out how you ranked? Your financial future is not a game. You are only competing with yourself and those in the boat with you, your family, and the many generations to come.
Will this make the boat go faster? A sounding alarm, a beacon of clarity amidst turbulent life decisions.
It's not just about speed, but direction, purpose, and an unwavering commitment. Every choice, every sacrifice aimed at the goal.
The first agreement this team made was to become fully self-directed, making their health their wealth, adopting a new perspective on their time and freedom, and the decisions they could fully control to reach their goal.
Will we make your boat go faster? That is our pledge to you. Our mission is to arm you with knowledge, strategies, and insights to ensure that not only you reach the goal, but you do so long before your race is over.
All right. We got quite a few people, some new people in the chat to win the boat. It's exciting. All right, let's see who's going to win.
I'm rooting for Justin. Let's go,
Is
Justin.
Justin
Let's get
in
you a boat.
Justin, you are just like your dad. He's not allowed to put hashtag boat in the chat anymore.
Oh!
How do you say this? I don't want to mispronounce it.
Alrighty.
Arati.
Alright. Alrighty.
Well, that's your nickname around here. All right. Please let us know how to pronounce your name so we don't mess it up next time. And thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate that even more. We are going to do a double spin, Brenda, because that's a good idea. So we're going to do that. Here we go. So go to selfdirected.live.info/live if you've won a boat to claim it. All right, here we go. Who's gonna win?
Money's on Justin.
It's gonna be Justin. I'll have to spin again. Oh, it was almost. Feather! Well, and Feather, I don't know if you've gotten one of the, I don't think she has. It's the new vision board mini kit. So it'll be a boat, and in the mini kit is what we're giving now. And that's what it is. Okay, so Feather and Arati. Yeah, okay. Well,
So go to
that's it.
selfdirected.info/live. Down there in the middle, it says, hey, did you win a boat? And put your information in and we will get it over to you.
Yes, and Feather is spending a lot of time this summer in a boat. We could see that. And the reason why I know that is because she's a part of our group. And if you're not, you should jump in to our Facebook group. And that way we can have access to ask questions when they come up or meet others who are on the same journey as you. All right, so if you want a boat, here is how you go there, selfdirected.info/live, and claim your boat. If you've won a boat before and you didn't claim it, you can still claim it. We don't care. Claim it. Sometimes people, I think they have logged off or they forgot to go to the place, right? They say, oh, no, I'll do that when we get done here, and they forget. And then they come back and go, I won
Where's
a
my
boat a
boat?
long time ago. Yeah. And come get your boat. Yeah, come get it. We would much rather you have it than not. So we'll leave it there. Okay, so we've had a very information packed stream tonight. I am so glad to be able to share this story and this journey, especially that sheet, so you could see where the difference is made. Sometimes I think maybe just even different visuals help to really set it in, building the confidence. Some of you are the first partner, right, to go in and have that conversation with your other partner. And so you have to have the confidence. You have to have that level of belief, like Donnell had, to push against everything that I was like, what, are you crazy? And he was like, look, I saw what I saw and I can't unsee it. This is just math. It's not what I want to believe. It's math. Like, you can't argue with the math, right? So I'm grateful for that. And some of you are that first person. You've got to be pretty brave to be that first person. And kudos to you if you are. We totally understand. And if you're the person who's stubborn and you're like, I don't feel comfortable. Well, you know what? Stick around. And then we'll have you on to share how you changed once you saw the math too. It's just a matter of time. All right. Well, we like to end with, if you didn't come from a wealthy family,
you can make sure a wealthy family comes from you.
So stay tuned.
Stay protected.
Stay focused.
Stay connected.
I'm Angelique.
And I'm Donnell.
And our goal is to help you
get self-directed.
And to do that, we have a ton of free resources. So don't sleep on those. You can come back on Sundays, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's when we're here. That's what we're here talking about. Well, right now we're kind of like in a HELOC. We're in our HELOC era as far as content goes here on YouTube, right? So that's a lot of it's what we've been posting recently. Mm-hmm. Financial like some basics on financial literacy, financial safety nets, stuff for entrepreneurs, stuff for vets. We've got some new stuff coming out, and we really hope that you guys appreciate the fact that we've gotten some shorter content for those who find the live streams to be a little bit long. We get it.
2.5 hours.
Yeah, we get it. Okay, we're gonna end now. Thank you to everyone who was in the chat and participated. It really helps us, and we love the support. You guys mean a lot to us, and spending your time here with us is important because we understand that time is the most valuable asset that we have, and you spent it here with us. So thank you so much, and we will see you back here next Sunday. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Hey, before you go, we want to remind you that becoming fully self-directed means gaining complete control over your wealth, time, and freedom. It's not just an idea. It's a framework, a mindset, and the power to make informed decisions to secure your future. Being here means you're taking those steps, and we want to thank you for allowing us to guide you. We believe that we grow farther and faster when we grow together. So tune in next time and tell a friend to tell a friend. We've helped thousands of people just like you start their journey to financial freedom. And if they can do it, you can too. And if you're ready to learn more, we got you. Get a head start by grabbing these 2 free books. But how do they get them, Donnell?
Head over to my website where you'll have access to a few things. A ton of free resources, case studies, and over 100 5-star reviews from people just like you. And in 15 minutes, we can explore what's possible for you. So don't wait.
Invest in what you want, when you want.
But first, let us help you get self-directed.